Yunwu's face sank as time went on. There is no other reason. Just because the pure yang yin completely lost her power after the silver light appeared. Under the silver light, pure yang yin can't get close to the body no matter how burned. Compared with the power, pure yang yin seems to be just a child and has no fighting power in front of adults. Cloud Dance's eyes are very cold, but still did not give up. As long as pure yang still exists, the woman must maintain the present defensive state. Without hesitation, Cloud Dance turned his hand, and the ancient sword with burning black flame appeared in his palm again. Since pure yang yin can't deal with you, then add me and come along. The cold voice rang out, without a trace of emotion mixed in. Cloud Dance body movement, directly toward the white ball fly, with the force of force, merciless attack up. Black and silver were wrapped in a piece of red. Unexpectedly, the violent collision did not appear. The silver light was suddenly in full bloom before the attack of Cloud Dance arrived. It was extremely dazzling in this cave. What's the situation? Huolinger quickly turned his head and put out his hand to block the dazzling light. It seemed that he would be blinded by the light if he took another look. Then I thought, I can't look at the light directly from such a distance. Will the distance of Cloud Dance be directly affected by the light? At the moment, Huolinger immediately cried out in panic. Sister Yun. Yunwu was really affected by the sudden light, but he quickly closed his eyes. The dazzling light, a thin eyelid could not block. Even if I close my eyes, still feel uncomfortable. The Cloud dances quickly to make a judgment, and the neck twists to avoid the dazzling light. At the same time, the perception will be more intense release. The surrounding environment detection is very clear. The black flame broadsword on the hand not only didn't take back, but continued to chop toward the ball. Bang! Like the sound of metal collision, the black flame dagger directly collided with the silver light. Cloud Dance just felt like cutting on the hardest thing. The black flame sword had no influence on the silver layer. How could that be? Cloud Dance alone, eyes full of surprise. Although there is no way to open your eyes to see, but you can clearly know what happened through perception. But before she could react, the white ball changed again. Silver light suddenly shrunk, as if brewing some great power in general. Cloud Dance, hands on a meal, quickly retreat out. Just as Yunwu's body was far away, the light suddenly exploded again. This time, it's a complete explosion. Where the silver light has gone, it makes the pure yang yin invisible. The crushing of strength makes the pure yang yin become like a weak grass, which is helpless in front of the strength. Sister Yun, the silver light flashed. Huolinger opened his eyes and saw the figure of Cloud dancing backward and the red flame that was crushed. He was very anxious. Although she didn't know what the red flame was, she could see that its power was absolutely unusual. But now she didn't even have the strength to fight back, which was enough to show the woman's terrible. What's more, she was the summoner of ancient times. Don't come here. Cloud Dance, a low drink, directly stopped the footstep of Fire Spirit Sun. The line of sight dead stares at the front to shrink into a ball of white fluff. At this point, she obviously can no longer use pure yang yin to fight. If the silver light comes again as before, I'm afraid pure yang yin will be directly extinguished. By then, both she and Stink will be affected. There is still a long way to go, and the battle is not over. She cannot lose. Huolinger's forward step stopped abruptly, and could only look at the Cloud Dance with a worried face. She knows her strength. The battle is not over yet. She can only make trouble for Yunwu. At this time, she suddenly resented why she didn't work hard at ordinary times, so that she could protect the person she wanted to protect at the critical time, instead of watching from a distance and trying not to drag others down. Sister Yun, you must win. When you win, I will practice hard after I go back. I will. Huolinger prayed silently in his heart, then stood back and looked at the two men in front of him from a distance. Cloud Dance's heart read a move, directly put away that burning pure material yang yin, eyes burning looking at the ball in front of. The fire is so intense that it forces me to show half of my body. Only after 9 tails can I stop it. The enchanting voice of the woman rings out again. Then, the white ball came loose slowly. 9 huge white foxtails stand up and sway behind the woman, which makes the figure more petite and enchanting. The woman's face, with a cold smile, seems to be praise, more like ridicule. It's a pity that the strength of the people who use it is too low. If your realm is higher, I really can't resist it. It's a pity that such a good fire is wasted. Yunwu's eyes were extremely cold. It was the first time that he heard such words from others. It seems that their strength is an insult to these babies. Even if they were insulted by others before, they're not reconciled at the moment. If you think about it carefully, Yunwu suddenly feels that he is not too dependent on these external things. From pure Yangyin to Guwu de Geo, no matter which one is inseparable from their own strength, they always borrow these things, and they can easily crush their opponents. However, there are few opportunities to fight against the opponent with their own realm. If one day, pure Yangyin lost its effect, Guwu broadsword was taken away by others, and Hyo left himself, was it as if he had broken his arm? Just like at the moment, when the pure yang lost its effect, he was inexplicably feel a trace of panic. It's only a few months since she got pure yang. Habit can be so terrible. Yunwu suddenly felt a chill in her heart. She didn't realize this problem until now. If it wasn't for today's war, I'm afraid I would be flustered if I really wait until such a day. No, you can't do that. Cloud Dance cries in the heart. What I need is to add wings like a tiger. Even without them, I can cross the mountains like a fierce tiger, instead of making them a part of my body. Without them, I will never fight again. Realizing this, Yunwu took a deep breath. My own realm, my own ability, what is your own strength no matter what the situation is? Body method, moves, the power of elements in the body, fighting spirit. Yunwu closed his eyes and thought for a while. When he finally opened his eyes became firm again. The opposite woman stood there coldly. Yunwu didn't do it, and she didn't rush to do it. Behind her, the 9 huge tails kept shaking, bringing a breeze in the cave. Thank you very much. Cloud Dance gently opened her lips and spat out these 2 words from her mouth. Woman Alung, some inexplicable looking at Cloud Dance, asked, "Thank you? What do you thank me for? Thank me for belittling your strength?" Yunwu no longer talks. She knows that it's useless to say anything at this time. What's really useful is her own strength. As soon as you turn your hand over, the black flame sword has disappeared in your hand. At the same time, the majestic fighting spirit and the force of elements in the body are carried at the same time. Feel the majestic power in his body constantly surging. Cloud Dance as if to find a reliable thing in general. The heart cannot help but rise a sense of security. This is the power that really belongs to you and can be used for you at any time. As long as she lives one day, she will rely on the power of survival. The purple fighting spirit emerges on the body and envelopes the whole body. The woman opposite was slightly stunned. Fighting spirit? Or purple? Hualinger was also a little surprised. When he saw the Cloud Dance fighting before, he just saw that her body method was very fast and decided that she was a master. Later, I learned that she was a summoner, but now I saw that she had purple fighting spirit. Purple, but the highest level of fighting. It's really Sister Yun. She's so powerful. Hualinger looked at the purple figure and murmured, "I feel proud of having such a cloud sister, but at the same time, I feel guilty. How can you have such a good sister?" Surprised? The cloud danced around the corner of his mouth. His eyes were cold, and even his voice was cold. "It's not just these that are worth your surprise. My strength, it's only now." With that, Yunwu's right hand stretched out, and several elements in his body appeared on his palm at the same time, constantly lengthening and extending, and finally turned into a colorful sword on his hand. This is a sword with 5 colors. Each color represents an element. There are 5 kinds of elements: thunder, fire, water, wind, and space. Attack the strongest thunder and fire. Heal and ice water, the fastest wind, plus the same space elements as the owner of this tomb. This is the sword that Cloud Dance controls 5 elements to gather together, trying to find their balance so that they will not repel each other. It is unique in the world. What? 5 elements? How is that possible? The woman opposite was shocked to see the sword in Yunwu's hand. She couldn't say a word of surprise, as if she had seen something very incredible. Let's not talk about the rarity of the summoner or the rarity of the summoner with multiple elements. Let's just talk about 5 elements. They are the most perfect combination in the world. What kind of talent can just have these 5 elements? It's just that she doesn't know. In fact, Cloud Dance doesn't have exactly 5 elements. She just has all the elements, but she knows that this combination can maximize the attack power. Why not? Don't you see it now? The words of Yunwu are understated, and they are not proud of having so many elements. Because she clearly knows that no matter how many elements she has, whether she is a summoner or a warrior, the most important thing is always strength and realm. Strength cannot be improved, even if she has so many elements. Today must also be explained here. Sister Yun, even worse than the tomb, the owner of this tomb, is just 2 elements. Huolinger stood at the bottom and looked up at Cloud Dance in shock. At this time, she almost thought that she was in a dream, because only in a dream can she know Sister Yun. So well the woman was shocked in the same place. For a moment, her heart was mixed, and for a moment, she was proud of the talent of Cloud Dance. Because only such a person can accept the master's inheritance, but she doesn't want her talent to surpass her master. In her opinion, her master should be the most powerful and the best human in the world. However, no matter whether she was shocked or how shocked she was, Yunwu didn't mean to be shocked with her. Originally, to show their strength in this way is to make the other party stunned, and then to achieve their own goal. Now, the time has come. The woman in shock did not expect that Yunwu would choose to attack at this time. The 5-color sword was not only as simple as it looked on the surface, but it was not very easy when Yunwu was first used, so it was very careful. But then I found that the sword had many advantages. Because it is composed of 5 elements, it is not necessarily a specific form, and can be shortened or extended at any time according to one's own mind. Even can change the soft and hard from time to time as a soft sword, and suddenly back to the ordinary sword, and finally even the cloud hand to swing directly into a whip toward the woman tied up. What the hell is this? It's so weird. The woman was very uncomfortable by the weapon in Yunwu's hand. There is a very important link in the battle, which is anticipation. It is necessary to determine where the opponent's next attack will be and what the weapon's attack range is. But when it comes to Cloud Dance, these 2 points are not applicable at all. Cloud Dance mouth a hook through the moves just now, for their new weapons become more handy. However, in the face of this woman, there is no sense of relaxation. If there is an opportunity in the future, we must study more, but now we can only fight well. The power of the long sword, which contains 5 elements, is no weaker than that of the ancient sword. If you can add more elements, it will be more powerful. But Yunwu knows that according to her current strength, she can only control 5 elements. If she adds another one, she is afraid that she will not be able to control it. At that time, she will not only not increase her power, but also make trouble for herself. In such a critical moment of life and death, she would not take risks. Damn it, the woman nearly swelled the Cloud Dance's move several times in a row, and all the huge 9 tails behind her spread out. But it's just a symbolic development. Because she doesn't think Cloud Dance is qualified for her to recite, she doesn't fully contact with the suppression of space here, and the suppression of her strength still exists in the tomb. But now she can't stand it anymore. If you don't open 9 tails, I'm afraid she will be suppressed all the time. Human, don't be proud. I'll show you my real strength. 2. The woman drinks a jiao. The body quickly retreats. Next, the huge tail behind suddenly soared, but there was no sense of disobedience behind the body. Even because of the size of Billy, it was particularly compelling. Yunwu's eyes were slightly heavy, and he could clearly feel that while the 9 tails were soaring, the whole cave seemed to be covered by a kind of prestige. It was a majestic and incomparable thunder element, as if it brought people into the thunder sea in an instant. Linger, you leave first. Cloud Dance head, also don't return of account. She had a premonition that the next move was different from what she had just done. It was no longer a skirmish, but a move that could take someone's life at any time. Huolinger didn't speak, but his eyes were very stubborn and he didn't want to leave. She didn't want to be a burden, so she stepped aside. However, it does not mean that she will leave her alone to fight, and she will escape far away. She will see the end of the battle with her own eyes, win or lose. At this time, Yunwu is not in the mood to manage Huolinger. She just thinks that Huolinger will listen to her own words and leave first. She must be so weak that she would be very afraid of such things. I didn't pay attention at the moment. What? Feeling something different from before? Ready to retreat? The woman's smiling face is charming and her body is shining with silver. Looking at the cloud dance is like looking at a person who is about to die. From the beautiful lips spit out the words, but it is very heartless. It's just a pity. Now also want to leave. It's too late. Lusha tribe. Cheese takes out the key from the guard's clothes, releases the woman tied in the pool, turns around and intends to go out, but is held by the woman behind him. Oh, wait. Are you saving me? The woman asked, holding Chi Yi's clothes. The water on her hand had a rotten smell. Chi Yi's couldn't help frowning, and smell on oneself seemed to have no such flavor. So what? Chi Yi's waved the woman's hand down from her clothes, frowned tightly, and seemed very upset. She turned and walked forward. No way! The woman suddenly ran forward and yelled in a loud voice. She grabbed Chi Yi's arm and said, "If you save me and don't care about me, then if anything happens to me, it's yours and mine?" Chi Knight, already faced such as frost, looked back, looked at the woman one eye. The eye does not take a trace emotion. "Do I know you?" Seeing Chi Knight go farther and farther, the woman turned her head and looked around. Almost all of them were soaked in water, like herself. Some people have been in a coma, some people are still struggling in pain, some people seem to have stopped breathing. A cold shiver hurried forward a few steps to hug Chi Knight's arm. "You can't do that," he said. "Save people to the end, send Buddha to the west. You saved me. How can you put me in such a place?" Chi Yi's feels the blue veins on her forehead. She clenches her fists and gives up the idea of trying to knock the woman unconscious. She throws her away and goes on. "Hello, hello." The woman rushed over and followed Chi Yi's. "But who are you?" "My name is Tao Li." Chi Yi's clenched his teeth and continued to walk forward, seemingly deaf. "Hello. I've already told you your name. You have to give it back." Women continue to nag around Chi Yi's. In such a big cell, there are all women's voices, which makes the eyes of countless people around them look at such a person. Chi Yi's was very upset. She turned her head, raised her hand, and pressed the woman on the door of the cell. She said coldly, "If you dare to say one more word from now on, believe it or not, I'll throw you into the cell and continue to lock you up." After listening to this sentence, Tao finally calmed down, covered her mouth carefully, and said nothing more. Chi Knight let go of Tao Li, turned to continue to walk. "Good for yourself." Tao Li looks at Chi Yi's back and opens her mouth. She just wants to say something, but suddenly remembers Chi Yi's words. She covers her mouth and chases Chi Yi's back in front of her. Chi Yi's looks at the endless water prison, but his heart is very heavy. It seems that this tribe is the place to abduct foreigners and eat them, but it's strange that I haven't seen any inspectors at all. Two people continue to walk forward in this strange water prison. I don't know how long I've been walking. I finally see a separate room. There is no guard around the room, and there is no sound. The door is closed. Chi Yi's turns his head and looks around. It seems that no one is coming. In order to find out the real situation of the water prison, Chi Yi's carefully steps forward, leans over, and sticks his ear to the door, listening quietly. Inside, suddenly came a woman's cry and cry for help. Chi Yi's was so scared that he turned pale. He stepped back and stood not far away, looking at the closed door in front of him. But at this time, he couldn't hear. Tao Li stood behind Chi Yi's and looked at her curiously. Then she looked at the door. She went forward, looked up and down, and asked, "Is there anything strange about this door? Look, it scares you like this." Chi Yi's pursed her mouth tightly and pondered for a long time. Suddenly, she narrowed her eyes and said, "Go and listen. Can you hear the sound inside?" On hearing this, Tao Li suddenly came to the spirit. She suddenly laughed, ran to the door, put her ear on the door, and listened quietly. Chi Yi's, who was watching coldly, quietly looked at Tao Li. All of a sudden, Dolly screamed, took 2 steps back, and then sat down on the ground. The humidity made her jump. "Who's there?" In the water prison, there was a sudden roar. In the distance, Chi's nerves were tense, and his instinctive backhand touched his snake sword. But he didn't find it. He looked around and found a stick. He went up and took the stick in his hand. He protected Tao Li behind him and said nothing. In front of him, 2 men suddenly appeared, holding a torch and walking towards the inside. When they saw Chi Yi's, they were stunned. The man in front turned to look at the man behind and said, "Isn't this woman the one who has just been sent in? It seems so." Behind the man, Langling nodded. "It seems that some silly. You idiot, call someone. We can't beat this woman." The man in front slapped the man behind on the head, scared the silly man to shout, turned and ran in the direction of coming. "No." Kill the man is very speechless, helped forehead sigh. But suddenly a face serious look to Chi Knight, sneer. Unexpectedly also let you escape. Seems to suddenly see the woman behind her. Some surprised. "You actually released a..." "Of course." Chi Knight narrowed her eyes and held the stick tightly in her hand. It was obvious that this kind of weapon was not suitable for her. She was a little uneasy. She was afraid that with this woman, with this kind of weapon, she could not retreat completely. The man in front of him was not nervous at all. He laughed and shrugged. "Don't be so nervous. You know, if you were too nervous, the meat will not taste delicious. So, keep a happy mood." The man sighed, Nuzui toward the hut behind Chi Yi's with a smile on his face. "In fact, you can turn around and have a look in that room. Looking a little ugly." Chi Yi's turned his head, glanced at the wooden door behind him, frowned and looked at the man. "What's that?" The man didn't speak, still smiled to see to Chi Knight, very proud appearance. But the woman behind Chi Yi's has already swallowed saliva and walked toward the wooden door, carefully looking around. Finally, holding the door handle, creak and pull the door open. But all of a sudden, the woman screamed wildly and quickly retreated behind her. But her left foot tripped her right foot, and she sat on the ground. Even so, she was still scared back until she retreated to the gate of a water prison, grabbed the gate of the water prison, and began to cry. Finally, Chi Knight, also face pale, slowly turned around. This time, Chi's finally couldn't help it. Covering her mouth, she ran to one side and vomited out. Behind the door is a woman. No, to be exact, a woman who has been amputated but is still alive. The ground was dyed bright red with blood dripping. The woman was dug out of her eyes and looked forward empty. She was hung on the wall, but still cried for mercy. "I beg you to let me go. Let me die. I beg you." Chi Yi's, who was shocked both physically and mentally, wiped his mouth, bit his teeth, raised his hand, picked up the stick and attacked the man. Scum. At this time, the man finally knew that he was afraid, because Chi's powerful aura made him feel suffocated. He stepped back 2 steps and turned to look behind him. Behind him, suddenly a large group of people rushed over, shouting, noisy voice and footsteps. Let the man in front of a flash, laughing at Chi Yi's. "I said, little girl, no matter how powerful you are, I will not believe that you can beat us and get out of here with this woman." As soon as the voice fell, Chi Yi suddenly roared. Chi attacked the man's face. In the moment when the man raised his hand to block it, he took Tao Li to run to the back of the wooden house. "Don't run. Stop." The man was so angry that the 2 men ran farther and farther before meeting each other, and said to the people around him, "Go, catch her for me. It's delicious. How can you just run away like this?" The people behind them should be in unison, running towards 2 people with swords. They didn't know how far they had run, until they slowly came to an open space. Tao Li finally threw away Chi Yi's hand, bent down, put her hand on her knee, and gasped violently. No, I can't run anymore." "You'd better run if you want to run." Chi Yi's gasped for breath, pulled Tori's hand, and then pulled forward. "I said I can't run." Tao Li threw Chi Yi's hand away and sat down on the ground, saying nothing. "Anyway, we can't escape. There are so many people here. There are only 2 of us. What can we do?" standing beside Tao Li coldly. Cheese looks at Tao Li for a long time. Finally, with a sneer, he raises his hand and cuts Tao Li's neck. The woman fell to the ground before she could shout. Cheese bent down to help the woman up and walked forward. He could have retreated, but she could not bear to think of the woman's tragic appearance in the hut. But in this way, it slows down its own speed. Sure enough, after a while, a group of people behind had caught up with them, surrounded them, and pointed their swords at them. Cheese could only put down Tao Li in silence, observing the surroundings indifferently with his bare hands. I advise you to give up your hand. One of the men said, You know, none of our prey has ever come out. Around the men with a mocking smile to see Chi Knight. Chi Knight while a group of people in the east and west, and looked at the scenery around. Not far from the body, there was a door shining from the outside. It can be seen that there must be a door to the outside world. However, it's difficult to solve the problems in front of these people. I turn my head and look at the comatose woman behind me, which is also the biggest trouble. Several men gradually surround Chi Yi's in the middle, and no one intends to get out of the way. However, Chi Yi's strong aura almost makes these people kneel down. Sure enough, he had strong willpower, which made Chi Yi's heart sink. If it goes on like this, I don't know if I can escape from here smoothly. Maybe I have to implicate a woman. Give it to me. A man yelled at countless people around him. In an instant, all the men around him swung their swords and rushed up. I have known for a long time that this woman is not simple, so no one is careless. However, these people did not pay attention to Chi Yi's. She knocked down a group of people, turned around, picked up Tao Li on the ground, and rushed to the side door. The men were very unconvinced. They got up from the ground and ran towards Chi Yi's. I'm in trouble, Chi Yi's thought in his heart, but he was looking around to find a weapon for himself. However, he only found an iron pole. This is okay. Chi Yi's puts Tao Li on the side of the door, takes the iron pole from the other side, packs the iron pole, and attacks several people. Those people hurriedly alert. See Chi Knight rushed over. A few men scared to escape. Chi Knight rushed to empty. Damn it! Chi Knight at this time in the heart is very depressed, but mercilessly toward a man in front of the head hit. At this time, the Shao tribe was immersed in the spirit of extermination. Shangguan vomited blood and turned pale. Although so, but always protecting the South Palace body in front of, fiercely stare to go up the official Li way. I advise you to still give up this idea. I won't let you succeed. Shangguan Li laughed like he heard the funniest joke in the world. After a long time, he finally stopped. Suddenly, he looked up at Shangguan with a sneer on his face and said with a sneer, If you say that to me, it's really beyond your ability. Shangguan grits his teeth, turns his head and glances at Nanganji. Nanganji, on the other side, is closing his eyes and breathing with ease. He turns his head and laughs ferociously and stabs Shangguan with his sword. Shangguan Li didn't pay attention to this attack at all. He put out 2 fingers to clamp Shangguan's sword body and flick back. He saw Shangguan stagger back several steps and fall in front of Nangang. His face was pale and transparent. Nangang finished his work in a hurry, opened his eyes, stood up, and protected himself in front of Shangguan. Nanganji, it seems that you have to go with us this time. Otherwise, Shangguan may have to explain here today. Shangguan Liyun Light said, Of course, you can rest assured, you are now injured. There will be us to heal you. In this case, I may be able to put Shangguan away of life. Shangguan, who was lying behind Nangang, suddenly jumped up, gritted his teeth, and said, You think it's beautiful. Even if I give up my life today, I will. Before he finished speaking, Shangguan Li suddenly raised his hand and patted it on Shangguan's chest. However, before the palm of his hand hit Shangguan's chest, Shangguan turned pale and fell on his knees, gasping. To me, you are in such a state. It's really pitiful. So, you don't have to boast anymore. He said suddenly raise a hand, will South Palace grasp come over, buckle his neck, let him breathe. Nangang clenches his teeth and can't breathe anymore. He just pulls Shangguan's hand hard. However, the hand did not move. Shangguan Li looked at Shangguan very proud. When Shangwan saw that Nangong Yi had fallen into Shangwan Li's hands, his heart sank and he rushed forward, but Shangwan Li suddenly increased his strength. Nangong Yi coughs twice and purses his lips tightly. "I think you'd better let him go." Shangwan clenched his fist and thought for a long time before he finally said slowly, "That thing is not on Nangong Yi at all. We have been sent to other places separately. We don't know who it is." Shangwan Li suddenly frowns. Looking at Nangong Yi's pale face, Brick suddenly smiles coldly. He presses Nangong Yi on the wall and raises his hand to Shangwan. Because of his great strength, Shangwan was knocked down on the wall before he could deal with it. With a roar, countless stones collapsed. Shangwan's mouth gushed blood and lay on the ground. His eyes were black. However, the fighting spirit in his body suddenly surged up. It seemed that he was about to break through. Shangwan moved in his heart and quickly turned over, sat up, and closed his eyes. A kind of villager standing outside is watching the situation in Beijing Spring curiously. But when he heard the fighting inside, he didn't know what happened. Xiao Wu stood beside Xiao Xingjie with a look of remorse. He thought that if he hadn't let Lord Wuzong go out, it might not have happened. All of a sudden, a cloud rolled in the sky, and everyone was stunned on the spot. Xiao Xingjie was even more startled, pointing to the dark clouds in the sky and shouting, "Someone has broken through again." Yes, the Shangwan, who sits on a knee in Beijing Quan, absorbs the essence of Beijing Quan, and suddenly breaks through Emperor Wu under severe injuries. Looking at the Shangwan Li in front of him and taking Nangongji to Beijing Spring, there was a burst of anger in Shangwan's heart. He only heard the roar and thunder in the sky. It seemed that he was going to split down. Shangwan Li couldn't help looking up, looking at the black clouds in the sky, turned his head to Shangwan and said with a smile, "It's not bad. I made a breakthrough, boy. I'll take this man with me." "Wait!" Shangwan suddenly roared, stood up and rushed to Shangwan. "It's not so easy to go." Say, already toward the chest of upper, officially pats in the past. "It's too much for me." Shangwan seemed a little impatient. He waved and patted Shangwan. "I don't have time to joke with you. Turn around and continue to walk forward." Shangwan doesn't give up. Looking at Tianlei, he seems to be about to split off. Suddenly, he rushes forward, grabs Shangwan Li's arm, and grabs Nangong Yi's arm. Curse! Shangwan Li can only loosen Nangong Yi to avoid Shangwan's attack. Just at this time, a sky thunder cleaved toward Shangwan and Shangwan Li. The silver light twinkles, the whole cave into a sea of thunder, as if the most beautiful color in the world, if the current environment is not too dangerous. I'm afraid Cloud Dance really wants to enjoy the beautiful scenery at this time. Force me to use half the power of my real body. You are still the first in thousands of years. The enchanting voice of the woman is particularly cold. Although she has a smile on her face, she looks at the Cloud Dance as if she is looking at a dead man. Yunwu tightly pursed his lips and did not speak. He held the sword tightly in his hand and stared at the front without blinking. Overhead is a sky formed by lightning, and at the foot is a sea of lightning. Between the sky and the sea, countless thunder and lightning circulate with each other, making a zzzz sound from time to time. I don't know if it's the reason why the opposite woman can control it. In this long time, there was no lightning hitting the clouds. It just kept flowing, as if it was disturbing something. The woman snorted coldly, as if laughing at Yunwu and pretending to be calm. "I'll give you a chance. If you can take my move, I will admit that you are qualified to inherit the master's inheritance." Cloud Dance eyes unchanged, as if did not hear the temptation of women's words in general. From the initial defeat of women to now, as long as you take the next move, you will be able to succeed. This is a big gap, if ordinary people naturally agree. But Cloud Dance is not stupid. She knows what kind of power that move contains. I'm afraid even if you use pure yang also can't stop. What's more, this kind of power is only half of the real power of the woman in front of her eyes. If there were no rules of this grave, how good would this woman's real power be? A move. Cloud Dance squinted, as if thinking for a long time in general, murmured, The woman's eyes flashed a touch of ridicule. Heart cloud dance, after all, or heart. Yes, as long as you take one move, you can achieve your goal. The whole tomb is yours. But if you can't take it, I'm afraid that after this move, you will lose everything. Don't talk about the body. Even the soul will disappear. I only ask you, dare you? Dare you? The arrogant and domineering voice resounded throughout the cave, like provocation. Although the strength of Cloud Dance surprised her. After all, Cloud Dance was only the strength of Emperor Wu. It was too far from her master's realm. She was not willing to let go. Cloud Dance coldly looking at her, although the heart knows the difficulty of this move, but what she wants will rely on their own strength to get. If today she can't get this woman's recognition, I'm afraid that even if she runs away, she won't have a chance with this grave. The most important thing is that she dances around and never deserts. Why not? Yunwu also responded in a loud voice, as always domineering and confident. By now, she had everything in mind. The fate of her cloud dance will not stop here. It's just a small move. Why can't it come down? Don't forget, she has a more important mission. Well, if you dare, the woman said with a sneer. In her opinion, Yunwu is just like this. She gambles her life for a temptation. At present, the impression of Cloud Dance is a little worse. In the cave, thunder and lightning roared, like rain coming and wind filling the building. Since you dare, you can connect me. The woman cold drinks, 9 huge tails in the back of a meal, and then more quickly swing up. The woman's whole body flew directly into the air, looking down at the clouds. At the same time, the sky and sea formed by thunder and lightning also become thunderous in an instant, as if they would swallow up the clouds at any time. Thunderbolt, to this moment finally began. Cloud Dance's eyes are slightly heavy. Looking at the woman's coquettish face, she suddenly chuckles and says, I think you are full of thunder and lightning here. It's too monotonous. Why don't I stick to you again? The woman was stunned, and then directly ignored the words of Cloud Dance, and only took her words as a joke, which was used to distract her. It was harmless, but Yunwu didn't think so. The next moment, she really helped the woman. Rich elements of water emerged from the body, and then quickly divided into two, toward the lightning convergence of the sky and the sea. The woman's face was shocked, and her voice became sharper. You are crazy. Who doesn't know that lightning will spread faster when encountering water, and it will naturally make the attack power more powerful when used in combat? Yunwu is about to be attacked by this move, but she not only doesn't want to avoid it, but also adds water element in it. It's not death. What is it? Yunwu lowers her head slightly, with a crazy smile on her face. The action on her hand is ceaseless, and the water elements are converging in the thunder sea, with a look of self-seeking death. The woman's face became heavy. Originally, my own thunder element was incomparably majestic. Now I added water element in it. I'm afraid that if I really attack, the whole cave will collapse. Although the tomb was arranged by the owner himself, and every place is very firm. After all, there has never been such a powerful battle. Now women are worried about the tomb, but now that the move has started, it's impossible to stop. Seeing that Yunwu did not pay attention to her words, the woman took a deep breath and looked at Yunwu coldly and said, Since you want to die, I will help you. Take this move. Having said that, the sky and thunder sea resonated at the same time. The roaring sound seems to be in the boundless ocean, encountering a tsunami. But Yunwu is just an ordinary fisherman boat. Being overturned by the vast ocean is just an instant thing. Sister Yun, Huolinger cries out anxiously in his heart, but he tries to cover his mouth to keep himself from making a sound, for fear that Cloud Dance will be distracted because of his own problems. At the moment when the silver light resonates, the action on Yunwu's hand stops, and his eyes are burning at the rolling silver light. Once again, Cloud Dance's palm is no longer pure water element. The purple fighting spirit takes the lead, wrapping the body tightly, adding the most solid defense for itself. Then, on the hands, the power of colorful elements constantly emerges, jumping in the palm. Blue, red, silver, green, white five elements. It's the five elements that Cloud Dance used to gather into the sword before. The five elements are jumping in the hand, but this time, they're not converging into a sword, but are jumping steadily in the palm of the hand. I don't know what to do next. The woman's eyelids unconsciously jumped for a while. Looking at the Cloud Dance, she didn't understand what she was going to do. Did she just attack with the five elements at the same time? Or for defense at the same time? Although I don't know what Yinwu wants to do, it doesn't affect her attack. When the whistling of the sky and sea reaches a certain stage, the woman drinks coldly, and the silver light is directly engulfed by the clouds. As if I could not swallow the sky and spit the earth. Almost. Cloud Dance looks at the species element on the hand and says softly. The next moment, when the silver light is shining, there is a crazy flash in Yunwu's eyes. The five elements are instantly mixed together with a strong clap of both hands. Once upon a time, she used element balls mixed with several elements as an attack, and the explosive force caused by the repulsion between each element is unparalleled. Now, at this critical juncture, Cloud Dance can only think of this move. When the palm unfolds again, a five-color ball leaps up on both hands. Cloud Dance a little thought, followed by a left hand, and is an element of jumping in the palm. Cloud Dance, without hesitation, directly put the sixth element into the ball. Poo-poo. When the sixth element is shot into the ball, Yunwu directly gushes out with a mouthful of blood and a burst of chi and blood in his chest, but the madness in his eyes is more intense. Five elements, if she can maintain the balance of the situation, not hard to achieve the maximum integration. In six elements, Cloud Dance is the first experiment. She knows she can do it, but the premise is that she is injured. If you lose 800, you can hurt 1,000. In such a critical moment, as long as we can survive, even such tactics must be used. In the glittering silver light, women can't see what action Cloud Dance has. I just felt that after a long time, there was no movement there. I thought that the other side was ready to take this move. There was a hint of irony in my eyes. How can Emperor Wu's defense block her attack? Looking at the oncoming silver light, he rushed towards himself, as if to swallow himself in. Compared with that, the ball in his hand was very vulnerable. But Cloud Dance doesn't mean to be afraid at all. There was only a layer of purple fighting spirit on her body to protect her, and all the others were blocked on the small ball in her hand. She knows a word. The best defense is attack. Therefore, this time, she put all her hopes on the attack in her hands. Success or failure depends on this. Silver finally arrived in front of Cloud Dance's right hand, gently raised, as if inadvertently in action in general. Without any lethality, the small ball on the hand was thrown out immediately, crossed an arc with or without, and went away with the silver light. In the overwhelming momentum of the silver light, a six-color ball is very eye-catching, but also very small. What's that? The woman's sharp eyes saw the existence of the six-color ball, and she was stunned. When did the ball appear? Why don't you feel it all the time? Even now, the woman has seen the existence of the ball, but she still doesn't feel her breath. But in the next moment, the woman finally understood what it was. Originally wanted to control the silver light, easily destroyed the ball, but when the lightning came into contact with the colorful ball, it was still a silent ball, suddenly changed shape. Six-color ball constantly shaking, as if shivering in the rainstorm of a lonely boat, but the shaking makes women very uneasy, always feel like what is going to happen. No, I have to destroy him. The woman's brow a wrinkly, coldly say. Immediately after, more urged the silver light toward the six-color ball attack in the past. At this time, the six-color ball shaking suddenly stopped, as if to the extreme of tolerance in general, and finally broke out. It's like heaven and earth are falling apart, and it's like back to Panga's grand opening of heaven and earth. That force seems to be able to urge all the elements in the world so that the whole universe can be destroyed to the point of all desolation. Women just feel that they have never encountered such a strange power, even when they are with their masters. Only at this time did she know what the ball was, a ball of six elements. The mutual exclusion between elements is the most intense, not to mention the six. When these six forces all burst out, each element is pulling the power of crying ghosts, as if it can pull out every element in the whole space. At that moment, it seemed that the six elements in the surrounding environment were boiling up. Women can't imagine that this kind of power would come from the hand of Emperor Wu. But it wasn't just that shocked her. If you want to take my move with this power, then even if you go on, I'm afraid you will become a useless person. After a short shock, the woman forced herself to calm down and uttered this sentence coldly. After the silver light, the cloud dances coldly, looking at the explosion in front, and the body quickly retreats. After listening to the woman's words, the corners of his mouth hook released a response. I give you more than these surprises. As soon as the woman's eyes sank, she didn't know what else Cloud Dance would do next, but at this moment, it's better to suppress the riot as soon as possible. At the moment, the woman immediately mobilized most of her strength to press towards the explosion place. But then, the woman found something that shocked her even more. The silver light flickered with blue water element light, which was the power of Cloud Dance in the initial injection. I thought that the power would make my attack more powerful, but I soon found that it was not the same thing at all. The water never joined the women's attack. They have been controlled by the Cloud Dance. Up to now, Cloud Dance simply let go, no longer to maintain the balance between water elements and lightning. Directly let go. In an instant, the repulsive collision between water elements and lightning elements in the whole cave. Taking the explosion of the six-color ball as the center, the sound of explosion was heard one after another. Different from the six-color ball, these explosions are from the inside of women's attack, constantly weakening women's attack power. How could that be? Women can't believe looking at everything in front of them. She didn't realize the purpose of Cloud Dance just now. If it wasn't for what happened now, she even thought that Cloud Dance was really stupid to add water element to increase attack. A coquettish face is full of disbelief, but the fact happened in front of us. Even if we don't believe it, we can only believe it. In contrast, Yunwu on the other side looks pale, as if she has consumed too much strength after finishing these two things, as if she will faint on the ground at the next moment, but her face is still not convinced. Well, what's up? I didn't let you down, did I? Yunwu raises her head and looks at the woman's position through the silver light. Although we can't see the woman's figure and expression, we can see the 9 huge tails shaking. From seeing the 9 tails, Yunwu knew the identity of this woman 9-tailed fox only exists in the legend of Warcraft. That is, only in ancient times there will be Warcraft, to now has basically disappeared. At least live so long. Cloud Dance has never seen any human with 9-tailed fox news, let alone adult, even if it is not a cub. It is said that the 9-tailed fox is one of the famous beasts. It lives on the Green Hill and has various attributes. So when Yunwu knew the identity of a woman, she wanted to make a contract with her. Now it's time to take advantage of this fight to achieve her goal. Hearing the indifferent voice of Yunwu, the woman calmed down, looked at the direction of Yunwu, and said, "The water element is just for interference and uses the element ball to interrupt my attack. But obviously your plan failed. My moves don't end when it's over." The cloud dances around the corner of the mouth and no longer talks. From the beginning, she never thought that with these, she could completely block the attack. Whether it's the elemental ball or the water element, it's just to weaken it. Up to now, it really weakens women's attack to the point that they can resist. Although she is very weak at this time, don't forget that she still has a card to play. The woman mobilized the remaining strength. Although her strength was less than 1/3 of the original strength after 2 times of interference, it was enough to deal with a little Emperor Wu. Next, don't take it lightly anymore. Cloud Dance looks at the front with burning eyes. She knows that the next thing is the key to decide whether she is alive or dead. The attack weakens the opponent's attack. Next, it's time to test the defense. The final attack is finally coming. At the same time, a majestic force in the body was directly mobilized by the Cloud Dance, forming a layer of defense in addition to the purple fighting spirit on the body. That black energy, as long as a little bit, can be comparable to a lot of fighting spirit, as if all the energy of the Emperor in general, with unparalleled domineering. In the desert, when Mengbai put on his clothes and looked out of the window, he found that he was still standing in the center of the desert. The endless golden sand of the desert was blowing away with the strong wind, with the desperation that made him afraid. Originally, he was rescued by a group of injured people who came out to do business. Now he is lying in their car. These people erect the felt mat they are carrying on the car to avoid the wind and light the fire. They are baking things. When they turn around and see Meng by standing in front of the window, a man comes to him with a smile and hands him a piece of meat, saying, "Eat, the road is still far away." Mengbai was stunned and looked down at the meat delivered by the man. He smelled the fragrance from the meat in a moment, and his stomach could not help crying. So he took the meat and gave thanks to the man. He got out of the car and sat in the middle of a group of people. A man was chatting with people around him. Suddenly he saw Mengbai and asked with a smile, "Little brother, how did you come here? Why are you fighting with a polypod?" Mengbai bit down a piece of meat, scratched his head, and said, "My friend and I got separated. When I opened my eyes, I was here. Then I met a multi-legged insect." Several people sighed, poured wine for Mengbai, handed him a felt mat, and said, "It's 3 or 4 days' journey from the nearest village. It's too far, so you should keep your strength well. I think you are seriously injured now." Mengbai was very grateful in his heart, but looking at the endless desert and these people who seemed to be in a hurry, he hesitated. If he followed them, he might meet someone, but I don't know where I will be taken. If I go further away from my friends, it's not very bad. Looking up at the people in front of them, they are chatting enthusiastically. It seems that they are not worried about what kind of problems they will encounter in the desert. Mengbai patted the man around him on the shoulder, turned around and asked, "Brother, I want to ask you, do you know what more dangerous warcraft is in this desert besides the multi-legged insect?" The man drank a mouthful of wine, let Mengbai pick up the bowl, and touch himself. Then he raised his head to drink, narrowed his eyes, took a breath, put down the bowl, patted Mengbai on the shoulder, and said, "Little brother, you can rest assured, follow us, and make sure you won't be hurt." Mengbai smiles and drinks a bowl of wine. Suddenly, his whole body warms up, and even the wound on his body suddenly becomes less painful. Shaking his head, sighed, "Brother, it's not that I don't want to follow you, but because I have to find friends, so I can't stay long. Now I just think that maybe I can meet my friends in the desert. Maybe they're just like me, and they're facing such a dangerous warcraft." The man suddenly nodded, drank a mouthful of wine, loudly let people around stop talking, listened to him say, "I say you, this little brother just came to the desert. You quickly tell him, what kind of things will happen in the desert?" People around stop chatting. In a moment, they look at Mengbai with a serious face. Some even frown. Deep in the desert, things are not as simple as you think. You know, boy. The man around him patted Mengbai on the shoulder, took a big sip of wine, and said, "You don't know how many people we have died in the desert." Turning to look around, he said, "These people, who haven't lost their families, those people, all silent." For a long time, a man finally said, "In this desert, the multi-legged insect is probably the lowest level of warcraft, but every year, because of this thing, countless people in each tribe will die. I've seen fire lizards." There was a man with his head down, beside the fire, on his bright and dark face, inexplicably serious and murderous. That thing ate my woman. It was 3 people long, and it could spout flames from its mouth, as if it was living under the desert. Mengbai sits beside them, listening quietly, drinking wine, and eating meat. People around him seem to have been triggered, and they all begin to tell. Mengbai couldn't help but frown. How much danger is there in the desert? He didn't know where his friends were, and whether there was any danger. Until the sky turned pale, the cold night finally faded away, and soon the rising sun came to the horizon, and the whole desert soon became hot. The merchants put away the things they took out, put them back in the car, packed up their bags, and prepared to leave. A man came up to Mengbai and said, "Little brother, Do you have any plans now? Mengbai was silent for a moment. He still gave a bitter smile and said, "Thank you for saving my life, but I have to go to my friend. I hope we can meet again." Then he turned and walked towards the desert. Boy behind him, the man suddenly stopped him, ran over, put a heavy fox fur dress and a bag of herbs into his arms, and said, "It seems that this night you can't shake your heart to take risks at all. Well, I wish you a good journey. This dress is for you to stay on the road. The desert at night can't live without thick clothes. This package of herbs can help you improve your state and heal your wounds. It's all fate to meet each other in the desert. You take risks alone. This is what I can help you, and the rest is up to you." Mengbai was so moved that he didn't know what to say. He bowed to thank him and left without looking back. Quietly walking in the desert, soon, behind the motorcade gradually away from sight, until disappeared in the desert. Mengbai's ear. Suddenly there is only a whir of wind and a silence. That night, it was like a dream. After walking for a distance, Mengbai found a small oasis, took some water there, sat on the ground and closed his eyes. Before the body of the explosion debris have been cleaned up by these people, leaving only some basically will not hurt the wound. The fighting spirit in his body is more than that of yesterday, which makes Mengbai very happy. He opens his eyes, sits up, and begins to plan how to kill some warcraft and store some food to prepare for the hard journey. Thinking about this, I began to wander around the oasis. At noon, the hot weather made him very uncomfortable. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and vomited. Then he ran to the water and drank some water. He saw that there was no warcraft at all, so cut down 2 pieces of cactus and put them in the bag. The water in the middle is the most abundant, although its juice is not very good. Go around the puddle and continue to the desert. Suddenly, the water behind him clattered, and Mengbai stopped and turned around. At a glance, I saw something on the surface of the water, and then disappeared. Mengbai's heart moved, turned, and walked quietly towards the water. His sword had been drawn out and put behind him, waiting quietly. Sure enough, for a long time, I didn't hear much of the sound from the shore. The thing came out again. A pair of eyes looked at the water and then climbed up. Seeing that it was time, Mengbai quickly raised his sword and prepared to cut it down. This thing, suddenly out of the water, is so huge. Mengbai looked up at the warcraft, which had to have 4 heights of his own, which made him swallow. Suddenly, I remember last night, a big brother said the thing called Shueisha. This thing stood up like a dragon and was several people tall. It could spray water in its mouth or curl up in any small puddle to make a living by eating sand. At the thought of not eating meat, Mengbai was suddenly relieved, but laughed. "If you don't eat my meat, I want to eat your meat. Fly up and chop at the head of that thing." The water sand eel seemed to feel the danger, so it quickly withdrew, shrunk rapidly, curled up in the water, and only showed a pair of eyes. Mengbai didn't give up and cut his eyes in the water. Hear the sound of water. The water, suddenly a ripple, followed by a big tail toward Mengbai. Mengbai complained in his heart and turned to avoid it. He just avoided the tail in front of him. Then, a water arrow hit Mengbai's back. To avoid it, Mengbai took it hard, and his face turned white. He was surprised that the power of this thing was so great, and he cut it into the water with his backhand. Water sand eel seems very angry. Suddenly stand up from the water, toward Mengbai spray sleep. Suddenly countless water bombs toward Mengbai hit, quickly find a cactus, squat behind. However, Mengbai underestimated the power of the water sand eel. After a burst of water bombs came, the cactus behind him was beaten to pieces, and all the thorns on the cactus flew into his body. Let Mengbai take a breath of cool air. Luck forces the thorn out of his body and moves it towards the Shueisha eel in front of him. After all, Shueisha eel was not smart enough. Suddenly, Mengbai cut a blood hole on his greasy body with a sharp roar, and the blood poured out. The whole body of Shueisha eel kept twisting, and then fell into the water with a plop. Mengbai goes forward in a hurry, stabs Shueisha eel to death with a sword, cuts the meat from Shueisha eel, scrapes off the skin of Shueisha eel, makes a water bag, and fills a bag full of water. Then he carries water and is ready to go on the road. However, I didn't expect that the wind in the sky suddenly became stronger. As soon as it came out of the oasis, the yellow sand in the desert began to block out the sun. The rolling yellow sand suddenly turned the halo over the desert into a faint yellow, and the clear sun in the sky suddenly turned into a fuzzy yellow. All of a sudden, a gust of wind, with yellow sand like a knife, came. Meng Bai quickly covered his face with his hand, and the wind and sand hit his arm. Although he was separated from his clothes, he also showed all the blood stains on his arm. It's too windy. Meng Bai felt that he couldn't move forward, so he had to sit on the ground, close his eyes, and wrap himself up with fighting spirit. Suddenly, the pain relieved a lot, but the blood on the body was one by one. Even the whole skin could not be seen. Meng Bai breathed and felt the wind blowing. He didn't know when the storm would pass. If it went on like this, he would die of exhaustion. Just thinking about this, suddenly, his keen hearing made him hear something crawling towards him not far in front of him. The speed was surprisingly fast, and it seemed that he was already in front of him in a twinkling of an eye. Meng Bai suddenly opened his eyes, raised his palm, and cleaved to the warcraft in front of him. Suddenly, a big mouth towards Meng Bai opened, but in an instant Meng Bai was repulsed. Like just eat people's blood, let Meng Bai a moment later. However, there were huge sandstorms all around him, and he could not see the situation in front of him at all. However, if not unexpected, he might have met the flaming lizard in one of the population. The hard shell made him feel like touching steel, and his heart went up to his throat, because fighting without knowing anything was the most dangerous thing. Lusha tribe. Cheese didn't understand what kind of people Lusha tribe was, because the people who were standing in the way of themselves were not the climate. But all of a sudden, countless people appeared around them. Although their realm was under their own, they were very powerful. These 10 people blocked Chi Yi's in the water prison, which made Chi Yi's a little difficult. Turning to look at Tao Li on the ground, she was sleeping soundly. Chi Yi's vomited her breath, because if she woke up, she would drag herself down. Thinking like this, he clenched the steel pipe in his hand and threw it at a person's leg. The minions around him still have no strength. Under the attack of Chi Yi Se, they scream one by one, and there is no voice on the table. Chi Knight see in the eye, turned round to one side of the strength of the poor crowd attack. But people on the other side didn't seem to want to let her go at all and besieged Chi Yi's. Chi Knight and a group of people in the struggle, very difficult, breathing heavily, holding the steel pipe hand, are constantly shaking, sweating. And those people, obviously, haven't tried their best. He threw out a stick and knocked over a man. Suddenly, he heard a woman scream behind him, and suddenly thought, God, help me this cry. Immediately let everyone's eyes are focused on Tao Li. Chi Knight color scolded an idiot in the heart. Sure enough, the attack of all the people around him, all attacks toward Tao Li. Chi Yi's was worried and turned to run towards Tao Li, but Tao Li in front of her screamed and ran away. This fool! Chi Knight color gas of roar, while in the hand of the steel stick toward chase Tao Li of person fly. After a few screams, several men behind Tori fell to the ground. However, a man behind Chi Yi's suddenly took advantage of this and slapped Chi Yi's on the back. Chi Knight, suddenly a mouthful of blood spurted out, almost fell down, wiped the blood of a corner of the mouth, or ran toward Tao Li. Come here. Don't run, Chi shouts in the night. But the woman had already cried and ran about in the room. Chi's face turned pale. After 2 steps, she had stopped panting and turned pale. Come and help me. I'm going to be killed. Tao Li cried out and ran towards Chi Yi's, but after 2 steps, she suddenly turned pale and fell to the ground with a plop. Chi Knight suddenly realized that the air may be toxic. He turned his head and looked at the man in front of him coldly, but the man in front of him laughed and came forward. The ecstasy I scattered in the air really works. After a while, you can't stand up. It's really a happy thing for everyone. Cheese clenched her teeth, suddenly stood up and rushed to the man in front of her. But the man is not flustered at all. Just raise a leg to come. One foot kicks on Chi-Yi's belly. One foot kicks her to fall on the ground. This foot seems to have no power in Chi-Yi's eyes, but his body just can't move, which makes Chi-Yi's very helpless. He can only let that foot put on his stomach and fall to the ground. The man stepped forward 2 steps, grabbed Chi-Yi's collar, and said with a smile, "Such a beautiful man. How can he be a lion-like character? It's really bad," said, raised a hand toward Chi-Yi's chest to clap past. The fighting spirit of cyan color. Although in Chi-Yi's eyes there is no fierce appearance, but with Chi-Yi's body now, she can't protect herself at all. Can turn around to dodge, raise a hand to split to grasp own hand, wave that person's hand to open. Behind her, Tao Li suddenly screams, which makes Chi-Yi's turn her head quickly. However, she sees Tao Li, who has been forced to the wall. She looks at the man rushing over and looks pale with fright. Chi-Yi's raises her leg and kicks the man in front of her. She turns around and pours at Tao Li-Fi. This woman is a real waste. Chi-Knight thought that she had put Tao Li under her body. Behind him, the man raised his knife and cut them down. Suddenly, Chi-Yi's face turned white, and she felt that her back was wet and sticky. The blood slowly stretched out her head along her clothes, which made her face pale. Looking at Chi-Yi's, he stuttered and touched the clothes behind him. In his voice, he cried, Why don't you get away?" Hard to turn over and sit on the wall. Chi-Yi's took a breath, looked up at the men who had surrounded the 2 people in front, very helpless, regret to save you. With a bitter smile, he stood up against the wall and walked towards the man in front of him. "Hello, I ask you." Chi-Yi's lowered her head and turned pale. But the natural aura let the man in front of her know that she was seriously injured, but still some retreat, forced himself to straighten his waist. "What's the matter?" The man shouts. The man around him surrounds Chi-Yi's in the middle, and no one is going to give in. Do the people in the city know that all they eat are human flesh? Chi-Knight bent down. We'll just throw away the steel stick picked up toward the men to see. Naturally, the man was smiling. Are the people in the city willing to eat human flesh? She threw the steel stick step by step, slowly toward the men in front of her. Naturally, the man continued to answer, looking very leisurely. "That's enough." Chi-Knight cold humme. The corners of the mouth evoke a faint smile, but in the eyes, murderous and originally confused trance eyes, has a blood red. The tomb left by the ancient summoner is in a cave. The coquettish woman couldn't believe that she felt the sudden breath, as if she saw something terrible. No, it's impossible. How can there be such a strong breath? What power is that? Isn't she Emperor Wu? How can there be such a strong breath? Blindly say don't believe, but the atmosphere around is too strong. Strong to oneself can't ignore. Women can only watch each other strong. But now, she can't stop, even if she already knows what the result will be after her move is released. The woman took a deep breath and managed to calm herself down. What about strong breath? She is only Emperor Wu after all. All over the sky of silver light mercilessly toward the cloud, without meaning soft. Even now, she still meticulously fulfill her promise before. After using half of her real body, she tries her best to attack Yunwu. Finally, Cloud Dance's whole body is wrapped in the power of evil bite, looking at the oncoming silver light murmuring. The Cloud Dance wrapped by the power of evil bite is like a hard stone. Even if her strength is only the realm of Emperor Wu, the power of evil bite still protects her tightly. After the last experience of Blood Corpse Land, her manipulation of the power of Magic Bite has gone to a higher level, and she can control the power of Magic Bite with more energy. At this critical juncture today, it's natural to use the idea. It's all over now. Cloud Dance's eyes are firm, and the power of Magic Bite on her body is a bit more intense. In the corner not far away, Hualinger, who has never left, looks at everything in front of her in shock. At this time, she doesn't know what to do. Sister Yin used to be so powerful. This is the only idea in Hualinger's heart now. Now, for the first time, she thinks that Yunwu can defeat the woman opposite. The collision came in the expectation of the three people. The silver light and the power of magic bite collided together. But surprisingly, there was no expected explosion. When the silver arrives, the power of magic bite has the dignity of a strong one, as if it can make any force submit to its own feet. The silver light is almost a retreat, and even can't go any further after touching the power of magic bite. The woman's calm face drives the force forward again. But at this time, the power of magic bite seemed to be angered, suddenly rose, directly swallowed the silver light. The majestic power has no effect in front of the power of magic bite, as if two beasts are fighting. If even that power can roar, you must hear the scream of the silver light at this time. The woman's face became very pale. She felt her own strength was so fragile before that very angry power. Even she could not do anything to recover. It would be a piece of cake to deal with that force if she opened all her real body, but now she only uses half of her real body power. She can't resist. What to do? Do you want to open all the real bodies? The woman is tangled in her heart, looking at the light in front of her, and there is no action. Her bet with Yunwoo is to let her take this move. Although she didn't say it clearly refers to the move in the half-body state. If at this time she opened all the real body in order to win, she would not feel happy even if she won. But if you are so familiar, will the inheritance of the master really be handed over to the person who is Emperor Wu? Can she grow up high enough? Women's heart entangled at the same time. Cloud Dance is also entangled. The power of Magic Bite is one of their most powerful cards. At this time, also forced out. If at this time the opposite woman reproduce a complete body, I'm afraid they don't have more power to bear. Both of them are worried about the same thing. The ultimate key to this battle is whether women will choose to fight with all their noumenon. A little bit of time passed, and finally, the power of Magic Bite completely suppressed the silver light, and the battle finally ended with women's failure. I lost. Looking at the disappearing silver light, the woman murmured that she didn't think she would lose one day. Cloud Dance also breathed a sigh of relief. This just completely took back the power of Evil Bite. At the same time, Yunwoo's body trembled and groaned. His face turned pale, as if he was trying to endure something. After a long time, he finally returned to normal. Sister Yun. Hualinger ran forward and quickly held Yunwoo, which didn't make her fall. Cloud Dance's face is pale and frightening. It's not strange to see Linger around. I think I already know that Hualinger hasn't left. But at that time in the battle, she could not distract to drive him away, had to let her stay. What she can do is to try to block all the attacks and not let the fire spear be affected. In fact, she did. Although the battle was dangerous, Hualinger was not affected at all. Sister Yin, how are you? Hualinger anxiously looks at Yunwoo. Although her eyes are still bright and clear, Hualinger can feel that Yunwoo's breath is very disordered. Cloud Dance had no choice but to smile for a while. He was not proficient in using the power of Magic Bite. Every time he used it, he would have some influence on himself. In fact, it's not a big deal this time, just a little breathing, but the opposite woman is still standing there. How can she just fall down? You lost. Cloud Dance let oneself steady rely on work properly sun to stand, looking at the woman opposite coldly say. The woman's complexion is complex, so she hesitates all the time. Until the end of the battle, she can't make up her mind to show her whole body, and finally miss the chance to kill Yunwoo. At the thought of becoming the contract beast of the man in front of her in the future, the woman's heart was mixed for a moment. Perhaps just now really should present the complete noumenon, even if has destroyed Own before the promise. Also cannot let Own Master's inheritance fall to this person's hand. Until now, women still think that Yunwoo is not qualified to inherit the inheritance of the tomb owner. In fact, before his master died, he had contacted them. It's just that they are so loyal that they stay here, waiting for the next successor. Although the contract has been lifted, but after seeing the glory of the former master, no matter who is in the eyes of women, they can't compare with the people they once worshipped as idols. So although Cloud Dance shows such strength at this time, it still can't satisfy her. But the bet was made by herself, and she couldn't go back on it. At the moment, under the gaze of Yunwu and Hualinger, he recovered his human form and walked slowly towards Yunwu. The step stands in front of Cloud Dance, and the woman's face is calm, as if it is not her who is about to be contracted. "Do it." The woman stood quietly in front of the Cloud Dance and said, but deep in her eyes, she was unwilling. Although willing to gamble and admit defeat, he did not agree with Yunwu from the bottom of his heart. Cloud Dance naturally saw that in her eyes is not willing, only to now also have to contract. She defeated this woman with so much effort. Now her breath is disordered, and the summoner can't summon her. If she doesn't contract with her, I'm afraid that the next fight will suffer greatly. Since this woman is so unwilling to be contracted by herself, it is necessary to wait until the matter in the tomb is solved and her fighting capacity is restored before contacting her. After making up her mind, Yunwu no longer hesitated. She reached out and began to see the woman in front of the contract. A flash of light, the call to the formation of women, slowly shrouded in it. Hualinger opened her eyes and looked at all this. It was the first time that she saw the existence of the summoning array and the seriousness of the Cloud Dance contract. Suddenly, she had a great curiosity about the vocation of summoner. Little by little, Hualinger stood quietly and didn't dare to disturb, until the light flickered once and finally disappeared in front of him. Hualinger finally came forward to help Yunwu. When the contract is completed, the woman in front of her has officially become the summoner of Cloud Dance. No matter what Yunwu thought, at least now with the role of contract, this woman is Yunwu. "What do I call you?" Cloud Dance looks at in front of this enchanting woman to ask away. "Little Nine," said the woman. With the role of the contract, Small Nine unwilling to reduce a lot, but still remember what happened before. Looking at Yunwu, her eyes softened and her charming smile reappeared. Cloud Dance nodded. "I now put you back to space. Can you still come out?" Small Nine one lung, slightly thought for a while, then shook his head. "Can't. There are prohibitions in this grave. As long as you enter the space, you can't be called again." Yunwu's own guess is right. Fortunately, she didn't let her go back to the space directly after the contract. Otherwise, there would be no summoner around her at this time. Between them, Hualinger suddenly found something on one side. An exclamation interrupted them. "What's the matter?" Cloud Dance. Two people shun Hualinger's line of sight to see. Sea cave all around, don't know when, unexpectedly appeared a crack. It's just that the cracks are not like the cracks between the stones, but like the cracks between some energies. Oh no! The previous fighting fluctuated so much that there were cracks in the space here. "Space?" Hualinger asked suspiciously. "It's a cave. How can we say it's space?" A touch of anxiety flashed across Xiaojiu's charming face. The cave itself is an independent space made of space elements. Now, after such fierce fighting fluctuations, it will collapse soon, and then we will all be washed into the turbulence of space. We'll leave as soon as we can while there's just a crack, and then we'll completely destroy this space, so that no one else will be killed. No one has ever really seen the turbulence in space, and those who break into it will never come back. So a Small Nine said, Cloud Dance and Fire Spirit Sun, two people's faces appeared a touch of moving, hurriedly toward the direction of coming. Three figures raised their own speed to the maximum, but the cracks in the cave are also expanding. Change 10 into 100, change 100 into 1,000. The speed of expansion is faster and faster. And even later, there has been a piece of space. Where is the exit of this space? How can I get out? Hualinger asked out of breath. In order to prevent intruders from discovering the layout of the tomb, the entrance and exit of the space are not certain. And the entrance is just where you came in before. There are many exits, but I can't find them now. Small Nine anxious response way. How many times have I seen the curse of the intruder who couldn't fly because of the prohibition of the tomb? Xiaojiu is gloating on one side, but now she wants to swear. Good grave, Why should we leave so many prohibitions? Cloud Dance's forward steps suddenly stopped. Do you mean that the exit here may not go anywhere, and the place we came in before may not be able to go out? All the steps of Xiaojiu and Huolinger stopped. Xiaojiu bit his lip and said yes. If anyone passes me normally, I should erase this layer of space directly. But now the space cracks have appeared, and my previous method of erasing the space doesn't work. After all, I'm not a space warcraft. As soon as Xiaojiu's words were finished, Huolinger's face turned pale. What? You're not sure if the previous entrance can get out? Are we going to be stuck here? Small Nine difficult nodded. Now only to that place to try. Cloud Dance looked at the cracks growing around, and the look on her face was particularly serious. I'm not sure if I can do it, but now I have to try. Cloud Dance serious say. The pure and cold voice seemed to be able to smooth Fire Spirit Sun and Small Nine in the heart of Fret General. Small Nine one lung. She how forget, oneself now of Master also is a summoner that has space element. Xiaojiu, come on, I'll do it. Cloud Dance coldly orders away. Tone no doubt. Only Xiaojiu is familiar with this space. With his reminder, it must be easier for him to do it. At the moment, Xiaojiu quickly nodded and went to Yunwu. The most important part of the space is the center. Just as important is the center of the roof. Small Nine's voice rings out. Quickly reported 2 positions. The Cloud Dance palm turns. The rich space element rushes toward those 2 directions, quickly mending the above loopholes. The location of Tianxian's seat, the location of Sanxian. Xiaojiu's voice calmed down slowly. The whole cave is like a night sky. It is divided according to the position of the constellations in the night sky. Every time Xiaojiu reports a place, Yunwu can find that place accurately. Finally, space elements are injected into it to repair the cracks. What Xiaojiu reported is the key position of this space. Space originally has the ability of self-healing. If it does not break several dead holes at the same time, it will not be like this. Therefore, the urgent task is to repair those key positions as soon as possible. The speed of Cloud Dance is very fast, but it is also slowly felt. The summoner of Shangguan is really powerful, but he has created a space which is equal to the power of all his space. I can't fix it all. I can only delay as long as I can linger. Go and find the exit. Try to see if you can get out of the previous entrance. Cloud Dance orders too. At the same time, try to delay time. Huolinger calmed down as soon as he heard this, nodded immediately, turned his head, and ran towards the direction. Xiaojiu's eyes are staring around the cave without blinking, carefully observing whether there are other key parts destroyed. The space power of Cloud Dance is continuously input. At last, the cracks in the crumbling space stopped temporarily. However, the power of Cloud Dance is really limited for this space, so it can only stop spreading. Little by little, it is not a long time, but it seems that it has passed several centuries. Hold on a little longer, and she'll be right back. Small Nine anxiously says. Because of the contract, can clearly feel the breath of Cloud Dance and a little bit of weakness. Finally, the figure of Huolinger appeared in their sight again. Looking for I found it. Huolinger ran out of breath. We couldn't get out where we came in before. I found another exit. As soon as these words came out, Xiaojiu couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, he didn't keep running to the entrance before, otherwise all 3 of them would be killed. Let's go. The Cloud dances a cold hum. The superfluous words don't say anything. Once the strength on the hand closes, stop the space element to infuse. Turn round to pull Fire Ling ER, and Small Nine to leave this place. Without the element injection of Cloud Dance, there are a lot of cracks in this space again, even faster than before. 3 heads did not return to the front running. Where's the exit? Cloud Dance coldly asks away. Near the entrance, you can see it there. Huolinger replied quickly. The speed of the 3 was even faster. The space behind seems to be corroded by something, and there are large-scale loopholes. Even through the loopholes, we can vaguely see the existence of space turbulence. Here we are. There it is. When he was about to reach the exit, while Linger's eyes floated around looking for the exit. Finally, I saw the place I wanted to see. With a finger, I found a silver exit because of the destruction of the space. Go Cloud dance a cold drink, a hand holding a person. One also don't want to drill in. At the moment when the three figures left, the space behind was suddenly broken. Xiao Tribe. A sky thunder roared and split down towards Shangguan and Shangguan. Nangongyi looks at him, but he is very anxious. Now Shangguan is seriously injured. If this thunder strikes Shangguan directly, he may die. Nangongyi is ready to help, but he looks at Shangguan. But at the moment of thunder, he flies away. He turned his head and looked up at Shangguan Li, but he was suddenly struck by the thunder. He stepped back a few steps and sneered, "Good boy." In an instant, he flew in front of Shangguan and clapped. However, just at this time, a sky thunder followed another sky thunder and cleaved toward the Shangguan. No! Nangongyi and Shangguan's hearts sank at the same time. Nangongyi almost didn't even think about it. He galloped forward and rushed to Shangguan to block Shangguan's hand. A mouthful of blood burst out, but Nangongyi gritted his teeth, took Shangguan Li's hand, and threw it at Shangguan. Nangongyi, who has just broken through the Emperor Wu, is still difficult to confront Shangguan Li, but he is much stronger than before. Shangguan Li is dragged by him and staggers for several steps. He falls on Shangguan Li, and they fall to the ground together. Nangongyi steps back and falls to the ground. His mouth gushes blood, and he is unconscious. Shangguan sneers. He looks at Tianlei's attack. Shangguan's face turns white. He grits his teeth and stands up. At the same time, he cuts down several Tianlei's attack. Thunder robbery has passed. Shangguan looks at Shangguan Li's pale face. He is very proud and runs to Nangongyi. But see South Palace lie on the ground. Already have no consciousness, in the heart of tight. Turn ahead to see to take a fancy to Officer Li, coldly way. I advise you had better not follow now. Shangguan clenches his fists and stands in the same place. Suddenly, he covers his mouth and nose with his hands. Shangguan lifts Nangongyi up and walks out. It's poisonous in the air. Some of the people in the gate of beasts yelled. Shangguan coughed 2 times. Looking at the disappearing figure of them, he was silent for a moment. Let's go. Outside Peijing Spring. Ah! Come out! Come out! Countless residents cried out. Shangguan, holding Nangongyi with half blood red, staggered out of Peijing Spring. Seeing countless people waiting at the door, he laughed and fell to the ground. What's going on? Xiao Xingjie hurriedly told Xiao Wu and several people to come forward, picked them up, and walked towards the tribe. At that time, I saw 2 thunderclouds clearly, that is to say, both of them broke through. Xiao Xingjie murmured, looking at the 2 unconscious men and taking a deep breath. Later, the 2 men broke through Emperor Wu's business in Peijing Spring on the same day, which became a local story and made Peijing Spring set off a heat of cultivation. In order to avoid what Nangongyi is worried about, Xiao Wu arranges both of them in his own home and asks them to put them down and leave. Xiao Wu vomited and sat by the bed. He turned his head and looked at the 2 people sleeping quietly. Suddenly, Xiao Wu looks at Nangongyi in surprise. He can't help but wonder that Nangongyi's eyes are gone. Carefully looking at Nangongyi's sleeping face, Xiao Wu can't help quietly reaching out his hand and touching Nangongyi's forehead. He wants to see how amazing he is. But before he touched Nangongyi's forehead, he felt the cool wind around him. In a twinkling, Shangguan's hand had caught his wrist. With a little effort, Xiao Wu suddenly burst into a cold sweat and laughed. That brother, it's not what you think. I just want to have a look. Have you lived enough? Shangguan sat up with a pale face and a cold look in his eyes. He was frightened by Xiao Wu and quickly stepped back 2 steps. No, it's not what you think. Before Lord Wuzong. Oh no, now I want to call Lord Wudi. I fainted in the poisonous fog. I brought him back, so I think. Shangguan rubs his head and breathes. He turns to Nangongyi. Suddenly, he is stunned and sees Nangongyi lying beside him. This is the first time for Shangguan to see Nangongyi's face. He has been relying on his body shape and breath to find a Shangwan. Suddenly, he is confused. It turns out that Nanganji, who has always been mysterious, looks like this. Xiao Wu looks at the Shangwan on the bed and looks at Nangong Yi without blinking. He is puzzled. Scratching his head, he reached out and patted Shangwan on the shoulder. "Well, brother, are you hungry or not? I'll go and cook some rice. I always said that the chicken left for Emperor Wu is still in the circle. I'll kill it. Congratulations on your breakthrough." In this way, the Shangwan heard a scream in his stomach, turned his lips, looked up at Xiao Wu, and said with a grin, "Thank you very much." Xiao Wu seemed to be flattered, nodded happily, and went out in a hurry. Shangwan quickly sat cross-legged on the bed to recuperate. Nangong Yi's quiet breathing makes Shangwan feel in a trance. After such a long time, it feels like a dream to finally meet his friend. The corner of the mouth slightly stir up a light smile. It wasn't until the afternoon that Nangong Yi woke up from his sleep. When he opened his eyes, he saw that he was lying on the bed of Xiao Wu's family again. There was no one around him. His injury is still very serious. Nangong Yi can't help but groan when he gets up. He gets out of bed and wants to walk outside. Then he suddenly remembers that he met Shangwan on the day of breakthrough in Beijing Spring. With a sudden pain in his chest, Nangong Yi staggers 2 steps and holds the table. After a few breaths, he hears a joking voice from outside. "Nangong Yi, how can you not help beating? You can't do it just 2 times." With that, Shangwan opened the door of the house, holding a bowl of chicken soup in his hand and sitting at the table opposite Nangongji. "This is the soup made by Xiao Wu. It's to see you break through and make it up for you." Nangong Yi almost instinctively raises his hand to his forehead, but he doesn't wear anything, and his face turns pale. "What are you afraid of?" Shangwan helpless. Quite normal a person, why wear veil all day? Nangong Yi suddenly remembered that he had broken through Emperor Wu, that is to say, his third eye could be hidden. Think so, vomited a breath, to go up the officer to smile slightly. "Really long time no see." Yes. Shangwan sighed. He put his hands behind his head and looked at the ceiling. "I don't know where Yunwu is." Nangong Yi took a sip of chicken soup and bowed his head to meditate. Shangwan looked around and found a room with no family. He couldn't help laughing and said, "Sure enough, your treatment is still good. It's like me. I've been locked up in prison, and I'm not easy to release. But I want to catch someone. It's because of you that I came to help you. So, we have to solve the conflict between the 2 tribes," Nangong Yi said, but he couldn't help frowning. Of course, it's definitely not an easy thing. "Eat." Xiao Wu brought in the hot food from outside the house and called them with a smile. Nangong Yi looks at the rich dishes and doubts. "Are these your own? I remember your home." "Yes. I only have these things because I have saved Emperor Wu, so the Patriarch has rewarded me with some money and food." "You say it's because of me?" Nangong Yi can't help but frown. "Is it because I'm the one they want to take away?" Xiao Wu shook his head in confusion and nodded. "Actually, I don't know, but what I know is that it is said that the people above said they would take you away, as if you were the one they need." Nangong Yi and Shangwan looked at each other and lowered their heads. "Sure enough, it's not your own contradiction that provokes the contradiction between your 2 tribes. The people of Wanzhuman deliberately point the contradiction at you." Shangwan clenched his fist and gritted his teeth. "The people of the Beast Gate are really boring." Nangong Yi lowered his head, thought for a moment, and finally said, "Xiao Wu, please take us to the Patriarch. We have something important to discuss." Xiao Wu nodded quickly and led the 2 men out of the house. Nan Mi, who doesn't wear a veil, has a pretty face. People can't help but stop and marvel. Although his white clothes are still stained with blood, they can't hide his peerless face. "Patriarch, here they are." Xiao Wu knocks on the door, takes them in, turns around, and closes the door. So only Xiao Xingjie, Nangong Yi, and Shangwan were left in the Patriarch's room. A maid poured water for Nangong Yi and they stood still. When everything was ready, Xiao Xingjie sat down, looked at Shangwan and said, "I don't know what you want to talk to me about." He turned to Nangong Yi. who didn't wear the veil and was surprised. Then he turned to Plain. Before, if Emperor Wu could be so frank with each other, we would have saved a lot of trouble. Nangong Yi lowered his head, picked up the water cup, sipped it lightly, and didn't speak. Say, Patriarch, do you know who I am? Shangguan pointed to his nose with a smile and asked. I don't know, Xiao Xingjie said with a smile. After looking at the two people, he sighed, but I know that both of them are young talents. They are very good. Nangong Yi looked at Shangguan and said slowly, This is the mysterious Wuzong master of Xinyu tribe. Before his voice fell, Xiao Xingjie's face suddenly changed. He suddenly jumped up, turned his head, and yelled, Come on! In an instant, countless people with swords rushed in and surrounded the two people. Nangong Yi couldn't help laughing bitterly. Patriarch, you are so cautious. This is my friend. Friends? Why do friends help Xinyu tribe? Do you mean that you are in partnership with Xinyu tribe to destroy our Xiaojia tribe? Xiao Xingjie stood nervously behind a group of people. His face was very ugly. No, we're here to solve this problem. Shangguan crooked a smile and looked around. But if you have to solve the problem with us, I'm afraid we two people in Wuzong realm. He looked out of the window and smacked his lips. I'm afraid this tribe will be almost destroyed without the people of Xinyu tribe over there. Xiao Xingjie's face was very ugly. He turned to Nangong Yi with anger in his eyes. Is this the person you brought? Why is it so rude? Nangong Yi, smiling and drinking tea, is very elegant. As he said, Shangguan pursed his mouth and restrained his smile. He didn't expect that Nangong Yi, who was so serious at ordinary times, would play a hooligan with him at this time. So, would you like to sit down and listen to us? The Shangguan sat down, took a sip of tea from the cup, and frowned. This tea is really not delicious. Is that how you treat your distinguished guests? Xiao Xingjie's face was very ugly. He waved his hand to the guards around him and asked the maid to bring him some good tea. Then he sat down and looked at the two people. He breathed out. Tell me what you want to talk about with me. I want to tell you that all the contradictions between you and Xinyu tribe actually point to one person. Shangguan said that his eyes were shining, and he seemed very confident. So? I don't understand. Xiao Xingjie frowned and doubted Shangguan's words. Shangguan smiles, claps Nangong Yi with his backhand, points to him, and says, their target is actually him. In order to get him, they do not hesitate to take such a large-scale action. Nangong Yi lowered his head and frowned. Yes, if it hadn't been for the appearance of people from the Beast Gate, he would not have expected this. Another thing, Shangguan suddenly stretched out his hand and spread it in front of Xiao Xingjie. Soon, the black fighting spirit had wrapped his palm. Xiao Xingjie stood up and looked up at Shangguan in shock. You are also a member of the Beast sect? Ah, it seems that you all know the Beast Gate. Shangguan raised the corner of his mouth and said, in fact, this time I came to protect your patron god, Lord Nangong, by the order of the head of Xinyu tribe. Xiao Xingjie was even more depressed. What's the situation? The head of Xinyu tribe asked him to protect the people who were against them? This is an oolong incident. Shangguan smiles bitterly and turns to Nangong Yi, but Nangong Yi doesn't understand. The people of the Beast Gate gave Xinyu tribe a task. That is, no matter how fierce the battle is, they must preserve Nangongji because they want to take Nangongji away. However, Nangong Yi suddenly broke through at this time, and the clan leader was afraid that Nangong Yi would hurt himself when he broke through, so that he died and couldn't finish the task of Beastgate. So he asked me to protect Nangong Yi and help him through the robbery. Said here, Nangong Yi suddenly. No wonder Shangguan will suddenly appear here and save his life. Whoever thought that all the animals had planted an eyeliner on this side and wanted to take him away when he was robbed of serious injuries? And the God Jade tribe just made me come to save Nangong Yi. So to speak, Xiao Xingjie opened his eyes wide. You are not from the Beast Gate? I'm the one who betrays the Beast Gate. Shangguan scratched his head and said with a smile, so you understand why you are going to start a war all of a sudden? Looking around at Nanganji sat down and drank tea without saying a word. Then he continued, "The Beast Gate hopes to unify the mainland and everything. They could take this opportunity to seize Nanganji and make you two tribes submit to them. Isn't it happy for all?" Xiao Xingjia's mouth opened wide in shock, looking at Shangguan and Nanganji in front of him. After a long time, I finally sighed and murmured, "Well, I should thank you for coming to save Lord Wuzong. Otherwise, our tribe will be destroyed soon?" Shangguan nodded solemnly, patted Nangong Yi on the shoulder, and said to Xiao Xingjie, "The best way now is to try to persuade the people of Xinyu tribe to let them know the truth and reach a settlement." Nangong Yi frowned, avoided Shangguan's hand, and stood up. "In this way, we will leave." Then he nodded to Xiao Xingjie, turned and walked towards the door. "That!" "Wait," Xiao Xingjie suddenly stopped them. "If this is true, then I'm so sorry for you. Why don't you come to me, and I'll arrange accommodation for you to have a rest?" "No, Xiao Wu's house is small, but he's used to it." Shangguan didn't look back. He waved to Xiao Xingjie and disappeared at the door with Nangong Yi. "Somebody?" The smile on Xiao Xingjie's face disappeared instantly. He turned to the people around him and said, "Go and send some sharp-footed people to watch them for me. If anything happens, report to me immediately." A few humanitarian voices turned back. Xiao Xingjie narrowed his eyes and murmured, "Should I believe you or the people of the Beast Gate?" Nangong Yi and Shangguan walked slowly towards Xiao Wu's room. They're silent all the way. Shangguan knows that Nangong Yihua is less silent. He turns his head and looks around bored. "Nangong, are you here these days?" Shangguan asked curiously. Suddenly, he saw the pastry stall and went to have a look. "Have you seen anyone else recently?" "I've been alone all the time." "Me too," Nangong Yi said, continue to move forward. He asked for nothing. Shangguan touched his nose to keep up with Nangong. They go back to Xiao Wu's house. They don't see Xiao Wu, but they see cooked food on the table. Shangguan took a piece of it and tasted it. He nodded with satisfaction and looked out of the window. "What about Xiao Wu?" Nangong Yi didn't reply, but he looked at a messy trace on the ground, frowned and walked in the direction of his steps. "I saw the land, a messy pace, toward the woods behind the house." "Hijacked?" Shangguan frowned and followed Nangong. "Is it the man of the Beast Gate again?" Nangong Yi and Shangguan galloped forward, but the footprints stopped abruptly in the woods. Shangguan and Nanganji stopped and looked around with a serious look. "Xiao Wu!" Shangguan suddenly yelled. The voice was infinitely amplified in the forest, startled the birds in the forest. No one answered. Shangguan suddenly jumped up to a big tree and looked down. Suddenly, not far away, there were 3 or 4 people around Xiao Wu, jumping down from the tree and galloping towards him. Nangong Yi sees Shangguan running to the other side, so he follows him. Sure enough, before he went far, he saw Xiao Wu surrounded by several people. Xiao Wu was lying on the ground, covered with soil, and his mouth was blue. "It's not from the Beast Gate." In the tomb of the ancient summoner, where countless experts gathered, a white figure, like entering a no-man's land, easily bypassed the exploration teams. From the initial access to the tomb, we can shuttle freely through the tomb. Even if we occasionally encounter some small problems, they are all solved easily. I don't know where the little thing is now. Long Qingxia leans in a corner and looks at an ear room in front of him being robbed by an exploration team. All the gold, silver, and jewelry in it are emptied, but he doesn't mean to take a share. Just standing quietly on one side, the line of sight in the crowd constantly shuttle, thinking about what? According to the ability of little things, I'm afraid they should have reached the center by now. It seems that I should hurry up. Even if she doesn't arrive, I can inquire about the environment for her first. With this in mind, Long Qingxia did not hesitate to leave directly. Clinker, he just had news. Those who have just ransacked money, for fear of being robbed of the expedition team, suddenly found his presence. "Who?" A big man's sharp voice. Long Qingxia steps a meal, This just realized that he thought Cloud Dance thought too much. Forget his side cannot peaceful things. Although it was found, the dragon had no explanation at all. Although it just stopped for a moment. Then he continued to turn a blind eye to those people, ready to go deep. Stop! Didn't you hear what I asked you? The speaker seems to be the leader of this team. Seeing that Long Qingxie ignored him, he thought that the other party was afraid. So he left in a hurry, and suddenly he didn't speak out. Boss, I think this kid is sneaky. I don't think he has any good intentions. Maybe someone from another team sent him to inquire about the news. Yes, boss. He must have seen all our achievements just now. If we let him go like this, I'm afraid he will tell others the news, and then we will be in a bad situation. Around a group of flattering people, see their boss don't like to see this man. Suddenly one after another voice. Just got the treasure. They are in a good mood and afraid to let others know that they will come to rob. So naturally they are not willing to let the dragon leave. That eldest brother will listen to these words. Poor also feel very reasonable. Immediately more don't want to let Long Qing evil so left. Stop for me. Since you see our business, don't leave. I advise you to stay and don't force us to do it. The boss of the team looked at the back of Long Qingxie, who wanted to leave, and said arrogantly. Long Qingxie naturally heard their conversation clearly, but he didn't bother to argue. Finding Yunwu was the right thing. It's just that this damn tomb is forbidden to fly. Even if the speed is the fastest, it can't go anywhere. Otherwise, just when they were talking, Long Qingxie would not know where he was. What a miserable boy. It seems that I have to give you a good look. As soon as the leader of the team saw that his words didn't work, and he was in front of his brothers, he immediately felt that he couldn't lower his face. He threw his anger on Long Qingxie and roared at the figure who left. Finished saying, then directly toward that figure to rush. Fighting spirit surface on the body. Palm a shake. A big knife then appeared in the palm. Impolitely toward the dragon Qing, evil heart cut. This man is a martial saint. He has some strength to be the leader of a small team. This move is obviously with a strong sense of murder. If you change yourself to be someone else, I'm afraid you will really die under this move. Long Qingxie turned his back to the people, and there was a sneer on their faces. Do these people think anyone can see the things they took? It's killing me to try to provoke him for this. Long Qingxie's body didn't move. In the eyes of those behind him, he felt that Long Qingxie had been scared and didn't dare to move, or his strength was too low to avoid the boss's move. So had to stand obediently, hope the boss can forgive him. Even the boss of the team felt that way, but the action on his hand didn't stop at all. In his opinion, just now the dragon's evil behavior has made him lose face in front of the brothers. So he must kill him. The attack is fleeting, and everyone can anticipate what's going to happen. But none of them said anything, and even everyone looked like schadenfreude, hoping that the dragon would die directly. But then something frightening happened. When many people saw that the attack hit Long Qingxie, and the sword went through Long Qingxie's body directly, they found that there was no blood splashing out at all. And their boss is even more frightened to find that his knife doesn't have any sense of hitting others. This has disabled what's left of it. The boss of the team couldn't believe looking at the slowly disappearing figure and said in horror, what kind of strength can have such speed? And shadow can stay in place for so long. What's more, there is a ban on speed in this tomb. Soon, however, he had no chance to think about it. Long Qingxie's attack arrived even before he appeared. The black energy seems to throw away directly to the team leader. Then in contact with the man at the same time, a strange scene suddenly appeared in front of the crowd. A good living person, wrapped by the black energy, did not make a sound and disappeared in front of the public, as if swallowed by the black hole in general. Wrapped by the black energy is just a moment thing. But when the black energy dissipates, they can no longer see the captain's figure. Where's the boss? Where's the boss? Where's the boss? The members of the team looked around in horror, only to find that not only did they not find the figure of the boss, but also the figure of Long Qingxie. It was not until after a long time that the evil figure of dragon appeared in front of several people that they were startled. You, when did you show up? Where did you get the boss? I can tell you that with so many of us, you'd better be wise. Otherwise you can't eat and go here. Although a group of people were scared to tremble, but still bravely said to the dragon. A very evil face with a smile looked at the crowd, cold eyes. Mingming looks like an immortal, but the breath on his body seems to come from hell. Even the words from his thin lips are so chilling. It's a bunch of people who don't think much of themselves. Long Qingxia's voice came faintly. Since you are in such a hurry to die, I'll clean it up easily. People's eyes became more and more frightened. In the pupils, the man in white was smiling like a ghost, slowly approaching them. On the other side of the tomb, Yunwu 3 left the independent space safely. After they left, the space behind them had disappeared completely. I'll take care of it, otherwise this space debris residue will affect the people who come and go. Small 9 gave an account, then stood up and walked toward the space there. Although she is not the warcraft of the space system, after all, this space is the place where she stayed for a long time, and she got some ways to deal with the space from her previous master. So at this moment, only she can deal with this space. Yunwu knows that Xiaojie won't do anything she doesn't know, so she nods and lets her make trouble. Sister Yun, eat this quickly. Fire Spirit's son handed over a Dan medicine to Cloud Dance's hand, a face worry of say, you just suffered so heavy injury. Eat this can recover some. After receiving Huolinger's elixir, Yunwu is a little sad. This pill is not right at all. How can you take it casually? And although she was seriously injured before, because of her contract with Xiaojie, she has recovered more than half of her injury. Now she can recover directly, with a little adjustment. What's more, there is the power of magic bite in her body, constantly repairing her injury. But looking up at Huolinger's expectant eyes, Yunwu couldn't say no, just said, I took this medicine first. Now my injury is not the time to take medicine. I'll take it later. On hearing this, Huolinger nodded blankly. In fact, she didn't know much about elixir, but everyone had elixir on this operation, and she had taken it once before. She felt very comfortable and knew it was a good thing, so she took it out. But I don't know that this medicine is just an ordinary pill in Yunwu's eyes. 2 people picked a place to sit down at will. Very quickly, the figure of small 9 appeared again in front of 2 people. Done? Cloud Dance picks eyebrow to ask away. For this just contract partner, she is not very understanding. Well, little 9 nodded and gave a lukewarm answer. In fact, my attitude towards Cloud Dance is still somewhat contradictory. At this time, the place where the 3 people sat side by side was just out of the original passage. Originally, Yunwu and Huolinger were curious about how they could get out of the passage to the cave. It turned out that the entrance point of the independent space was at the entrance of the passage. As long as they got out of the passage, they would directly enter the independent space. Is every passage here guarded like this? Cloud Dance suddenly open-mouthed to ask away, and the mind is still remembering would to fix the circumstance outside the channel that they leave. Looking around again, he found that it was the same as that of Mu Xiuming. It's surrounded by huge stones. When you walk inside, you can see some rooms corresponding to the ear chambers of the tomb. However, there are many ear chambers like this in this place, most of which have been hollowed out. I think these places must be used to place various treasures of the summoner. I think she has been practicing Cloud Dance for many years, and she has collected a lot of good things in her personal space, not to mention the owner of this tomb. I'm afraid his must-win collection is all in this tomb. They're almost everything from valuable to cheap, from rare to everywhere. Yes, every channel here has a ghost of Warcraft left to guard. If you want to pass, you must defeat those ghosts. Little 9 replied, Ghost? Cloud Dance frowned. Why is the ghost? Why aren't you? If the master has more summoners, I think he will be happy to use them all to guard the tomb. The reason why he didn't do that is because he has too few summoners. But if you don't use your own warcraft to guard, you need to find a warcraft that is loyal and powerful. That kind of warcraft is very rare. So he looked for a long time, but he didn't find a suitable one. So he decided to use the ghost of some fierce beasts as a guard. Fierce beast. Huolinger shivered and exaggerated. No? How could anyone dare to catch a fierce beast? A touch of pride flashed in Xiao Jiu's eyes. What's a fierce beast? At the time of my master, he was one of the best masters. The whole continent knew his reputation. It's easy to deal with a few small warcraft. 3 times and 2 times we'll catch enough of these warcraft. Small 9 talk as if to talk about their brilliant past in general. For a while even call forget to change. What master? That was your former master. Now you can only call Sister Yun the master. Fire Spirit Sun curled to curl a mouth to say, in the heart have no favor really, to small 9. From the initial meeting with Xiaojiu, then to the war between her and Yunwu, and finally being signed, Huolinger is only slowly hostile to Xiaojiu, until they finally make a contract. Xiaojiu's talking voice suddenly stopped, and his face was embarrassed. Indeed, from the perspective of contract, his current master is Yunwu, and it is also because of the contract that Xiaojiu can feel that his heart is changing little by little and becoming obedient to Yunwu. It's just that her memory reminds her not to forget her former master, not to mention that this place is the grave of her former master. Never mind, you go on. When Huolinger and Xiaojiu both feel embarrassed, Yunwu says faintly, as if they don't care about Xiaojiu's address at all. Small 9 eyes complex to see cloud dance 1 eye. A face turn can if peach blossom, continue to say. No matter from which channel come out, we'll eventually meet the ghost of a fierce beast. The strength of each soul is different. The weakest can be defeated as long as there is a martial saint in the team. The strongest you need at least 3 Wuzongs or 1 Wudi. So if you want to benefit from the tomb, you have to form a team. Yunwu nodded. Although she said that, she didn't worry about Mu Xiaoming. After all, there is a whole lean in it. Lin Yuntong's current strength is the realm of Wuzong, and there is a Mu Xiaoming. Although there are only 3 people in it, he is definitely much more powerful than all the teams. Where is the inheritance of your master? Cloud Dance finally asked the most crucial place. In the center of the whole tomb, if you want to get there, you have to go through one ear chamber after another in this intricate tomb. There are all kinds of treasures in those ear chambers, such as pills, miraculous drugs, weapons, gold and silver, etc. If ordinary people see it, they will be crazy about it. Small 9 charming face flashed a touch of irony. But it's a pity. Often these are the reasons why the explorers can't hold on to the last. Always want to take more, eventually lead to each team fighting, and finally stay in this tomb forever. It is clear that the temptation of ordinary people to that kind of thing is self-evident. Oh, no Fire Spirit Sun suddenly says. We've been here so long. I'm afraid someone has already entered it. Dad, their goal is the most central inheritance. If we don't go there, we'll be taken away by them. Huolinger suddenly said, Sister Yun, you are the summoner. You can accept the inheritance, so let's go quickly. Cloud Dance nodded, is ready to start. Small 9 but smile. Don't worry. Even if they get to the place, they won't get inheritance. Fire Spirit Sun, a lung. What meaning? The inheritance of this tomb is limited by levels. The lowest is Emperor Wu, and the second is the dual summoner of space and thunder. Finally, I can get my approval and get the inheritance through me. So even if they get to the place, they can only watch. At most, they could take away a Jade card by force, combined with the power of several Wuzong. What's the use of Jade? Cloud Dance is keen to capture the key points. Jade brand is the key to inheritance. When it's gone, you'll know. Xiaojiu said with a smile. In a word, you don't have to worry about it. None of them can inherit it. What's more, even if you take away the Jade metal, it will take a long time to compete with each other. Cloud Dance nodded. Feel Small 9 said really reasonable. Huolinger patted her chest and said, I'm scared to death. I'm really afraid I can't catch up. Small 9 eyes in the smoke wave flow, looking at Cloud Dance said, this grave ear room big and small have hundreds of. Each ear room has a lot of good things. If you get those, also be regarded as not poor harvest. Cloud Dance the corner of the mouth a hook. In the heart understand small 9 is what meaning, if thoughtful of nod. The three of them had a rest. When Yunwu's injury was almost recovered, they stood up one after another and went on to the depth of the tomb. The sweeping of ancient tombs has officially begun. In the water prison of Lusha tribe, there is still blood, but inside, there is a fierce fight. In the water prison, countless men surround Chi Yi's in the middle. Chi Yi's beautiful face is full of blood, and his eyes are red. She clenched her teeth and raised her hand abruptly. The steel rod wrapped in fighting spirit threw it at the man in front of her. In an instant, her head was broken and blood was flowing. Tao Li didn't react. Seeing this, she fainted on the ground. When she woke up again, the water prison was like hell, which made her face pale and faint again. These people can't stop Chi Yi's rampant. All the way, she looks like Hell Shura. When she carried Dolly step by step out of the water prison, after the water prison, except for the dying, there is no one alive. When I came out, it was dark outside. The wound on his back gurgles with blood, which makes Chi Yi's pale and soft. He goes to the residence where the patriarch is. He puts Tao Li down and walks in by himself. Just on the second floor, he saw a light on in the patriarch's room. Chi Knight quietly hid under the window, listening to a few figures in the light of the light in the room in front of him saying, how do you say we should solve this sword? Let's take this sword to the merchants of other tribes tomorrow to see the price. It may be very valuable. If we could, we might be able to use the money to sell swords to collect more delicious women. Chi squatted under the window, silent sneer, listening to the people inside or discussing things, eyes flashing killing. Suddenly turn over and up, jump on the roof, lift the roof tiles, quietly sneak in. The roof of the house is relatively high, and Chi Yi's body is very light. The people standing around the sword in the house didn't find Chi Yi's. Quietly squatting on the beam, listening to the people below. I think tomorrow we can eat this woman's delicious limbs. One of the men smacked his lips with a smile, as if he had tasted the meat and enjoyed it on his face. The kind of meat that becomes tight because of struggle is really memorable. I really want to taste her viscera, which is not dead yet. It's really delicious when I think about it. Several people are talking about how to eat Chi Yi's, but they don't know that Chi Yi's is just above them. When they see their swords around them, they feel the state of several people. They find that 2 people can't feel it. They are a little nervous, so they plan to go back to the next day's round. But did not expect that one of the men suddenly raised his head, just in Chi Knight on the eye. Suddenly, the strange smile on the corner of the man's mouth cools Chi Yi's heart. His heart says that he's broken. I can't feel this man's state. I'm afraid he's not under me. Just thinking about it, the man suddenly raised his hand and hit Chi Yi's face with a whip in his hand. Chi Yi's was seriously injured. He had no way to dodge. He had to jump off the beam of the house and fall among several people. He took out the sword from the table and held it in his hand. Sure enough, with the sword, Chi Yi's was as flexible as if he had another arm. However, the bigger problem is that a few people around us are similar to their own realm, while the other 2 are much higher. Chi Knight tense whole body nerves, a burst of tension. Luck will be wrapped up in fighting. The people around them seem to have expected that Chi Yi's will come tonight. Everyone's face is full of unidentified smiles, which is very terrible in the dark and windy night. I said that meat without high-speed movement is not fragrant at all. Look at this little boy. He really listened to us and came all the way to us. One of the men said with confidence that the men around him also laughed. Looking at Chi Knight was like looking at a little white rabbit with banter and pity. Come on, play games with our little white rabbit. Some people said that they raised their hands and patted the color of the Enterprise on their chest. Chi Yi's hurried away to dodge, but he thought that there was someone behind him. He stopped walking. Yu Guang glanced around. only to find that the man near the window had let the window go. Take the smile in that man's eyes. Cheese holds back his anger and rushes out. Come on, we'll have fun tonight. Behind the window came a burst of laughter, and then a few figures flew out of the window, instantly disappeared in the air. I can't see my fingers. Cheese leaned behind a tree, panting heavily. His face was pale, and the blood on his back was flowing all the time. The blood dripping on the ground made Cheese very nervous. If they went on like this, they would soon find themselves. But now, these people seem to be playing hide and seek here, searching around without delay. What can we do? Chi Knight murmured in his heart. Looking around, there was silence. There was no one else except these people. But even if it does, it's not very useful. Chi Yi sighed and quickly found out his situation. Then he picked up his snake sword and ran out. Tao Li is still sleeping at the door. Chi Yi says a word of trouble in her heart and goes to the door. Sure enough, at the gate of the mansion, Tao Li was sleeping soundly on the ground. She didn't know what kind of situation she was facing. After thinking about it for a long time, Chi hesitated for a long time between saving and not saving. Then he finally got ready to go towards Tao Li. I got you. Around, suddenly came a voice of banter. Chi Knight has not turned his head. Feel behind a cold wind. Quickly turned towards his back to block. With a loud bang, Chi Yi's felt that her hand was numb. She stepped back 2 steps, but still didn't give up protecting Tao Li behind her. But on the side, suddenly a man rushed out and chopped at Chi Yi's. Chi Yi's feels the strong wind blowing by her side, and she quickly sidesteps to avoid, but she is still scratched with a hole, which is very ferocious. These people, obviously playing with themselves as monkeys, beat back the people around them and walked towards Tao Li. Cheese walked all the way to Tao Li until he picked up Tao Li, leaped up, and left in the distance. Chase some people around said loudly. Several people ran towards the direction of Chi Knight. Cheese looks at the woman sleeping on her shoulder. She is really itching. She turns her head and looks behind her. Those people haven't come after her. Then she stops and throws Tori on the ground. All of a sudden, Tori sat up from the ground, grinned, touched her ass, and stood up. Where is this? Why am I here? What do you want to do with me? I want you to go away. Chi Knight, coldly looking at in front of Tao Li, turned to leave. But you can't just abandon me. Tao Li is very wrong to stand behind Chi Yi's, curling her mouth. I am a person who has no self-protection ability at all. If I encounter any danger, what should I do? It's none of my business. Chi Knight said these 4 words, turned and leaped up, and left in the direction when he came. Hello. Tao Li jumps her feet, looks at Chi Yi's back and shouts, You are a wicked man. Chi Knight, color corner of the mouth, starts to sneer toward a man who faces to rush past. All the way to kill. These men never kill her, just play with her, scratch her a few cuts, or scratch her skin, which makes her very angry. Several people finally intercepted her in the woods and couldn't get in or out. You guys are. Cheese gritted her teeth and flew at a man. This little girl is very anxious. The man said that he turned his head and looked at the people around him. The people around him walked towards Chi Yi's and raised his sword to fight against Chi Yi's. This man's realm is equal to his own, but his melee strength is good. He was seriously injured. Before he handed over his hands several times, Chi Yi's was already panting, holding his knee, leaning his sword on the ground, and his whole body was shaking. I said, let's take her back. What if she runs away? It was suggested. Don't worry. Will she run with us? Another man said, looked up at the sky, said to the people around him, We'd better not catch. Let's go, it's almost dawn. So it is. People around to cater to even turned around on the spot or scattered. Cheese watched the people around her disappear suddenly. No matter whether she should rest or not, she sat cross-legged on the ground and closed her eyes. The dizziness made her unwilling to open her eyes and explore her body. However, she could not help but be overjoyed. She had a faint desire to break through, but she had to work hard. Sitting cross-legged, he finally healed half of the wound in his body and quickly stopped the blood from the wound on his back. While I'm not being watched by these people during this period of time, I have to do something first. Chi thinks so. Suddenly sneer, lift snake sword, walk toward the city. In the desert, Meng Bai, hungry and thirsty, once again fell into despair. Flaming lizard, which is a terrible thing in the eyes of all desert people, unexpectedly happened to meet itself. I suddenly sigh in my heart. I don't know whether it is lucky or unfortunate. The huge letter sun, with a bad smell, pounces on Meng Bai, which makes Meng Bai feel sick. He raises his hand and wields his sword to cut it off. Fire, lizard, eat pain. Quickly roar back 2 steps. The ground was shaking him. Meng Bai has a feeling of death. In such bad weather, facing such a warcraft alone, he really has no chance of winning. The sandstorm is still rampant, so Meng Bai can only defend against the fire lizard while waiting for the storm to pass. However, nothing could be seen outside. After the whole world was quiet for a moment, suddenly, a huge object sprang up behind him and bit Meng Bai's head. The smell of saliva makes Meng Bai feel sick. He cuts off one of the fire lizard's teeth with his sword. The fire lizard almost jumps up in pain, but his huge body blocks his action. One person and one lizard struggled in the sandstorm for a long time. Finally, half an hour later, the sandstorm became smaller. In a short time, the sky had already sent out the light of the sun. Meng Bai at this time to see clearly in front of this giant. The flaming lizard, 3 people tall, has red scales all over its body, red eyes, and the corners of its mouth bleed like blood. I don't know if it just ate some Warcraft last night. Its huge tail sweeps across the ground and sends out bursts of wind. Meng Bai focused his attention and flew to the flaming lizard in front of him. However, the scales of the flaming lizard were too strong. Meng Bai staggered 2 steps before he barely stood and looked forward. The flaming lizard is already angry. It seems that there is a flame in its eyes, which makes Meng Bai back again. What a terrible guy. Meng Bai thought and looked around. Here, there was no cactus. The flaming lizard didn't give him time to think about his situation at all. He suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of magma. The hot lava spouts out of the fire lizard's mouth and attacks Meng Bai. The hot wave makes Meng Bai pale and quickly withdraw to one side. Where the magma went, even the sand turned black. It's really terrible. Meng Bai has a lingering fear. He takes a long sword and deals with it carefully. So he wrapped his whole body in the fighting spirit and rushed to the flaming lizard. I saw the flaming lizard sweep its tail and sweep directly to Meng Bai's stomach. With a dull hum, Meng Bai spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out. He fell to the ground and rolled several times before stopping. But the blood kept spitting, which made him unable to stand up for a moment. So he had to curl up on the ground and frown. The fighting spirit in the body suddenly feels abnormally, which makes Meng Bai nervous. Is it going to break through? Yes, he is not excited at all, because in such a situation, if he breaks through and suffers from thundercloud, he may not be able to live after serious injury. What can we do? Meng Bai thinks in his heart and bears the attack of the flaming lizard in front of him. Another sweep. Let Meng Bai fei up and down. Spray thin blood, let him pale. For a moment and a half actually can't move. He suddenly will sword fly up toward the flaming lizard eyes stab. Sure enough, with a sharp roar, the fire lizard fell to the ground and kept struggling. Meng Bai closed his eyes and explored his body. It seems that under such circumstances, he can only break through first. Thinking about this, he sat up quickly, took out a few pieces of raw meat of the sand eel, and swallowed it. He replenished his physical strength, sat on the ground, closed his eyes, wrapped himself in fighting spirit, and meditated. Sure enough, after a while, the sky was still full of thunder, and the wind and clouds were surging towards Meng Bai's cultivation place. Meng Bai clenched his teeth, closed his eyes, listened to the huge footsteps of the flaming lizard nearby, and suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. The flaming lizard stands up suddenly before meeting. Although one eye has been destroyed, he still has another eye. He even wants to kill himself, so come here. So thinking, the sky suddenly dark clouds, thunder rolling. This left Meng Bai's heart both happy and uneasy. Looking at the flaming lizard in front of him, the good thing is that he has no brain, so he follows what he likes to eat. With this in mind, the flaming lizard in front of him pours at him. Just as it happens, a sky thunder attacks Meng Bai. With a roar, the flaming lizard's roar was deafening. Meng Bai just hit under the flaming lizard's stomach and raised his hand to stab the flaming lizard's stomach. Another fierce struggle. The flaming lizard rolled up. The sword inserted in its stomach could not be pulled out. Meng Bai flew out with the flaming lizard. A sky thunder strikes, and Meng Bai is so scared that he hugs Huiyin Lizard's foot. Suddenly, a smell of paste comes out from Huiyin Lizard. Huiyin Lizard is beaten and kicks Meng Bai away. Meng Bai spat out blood and glided on the sand for a long time. He finally stopped. He happened to see a thunder rushing at him and was about to fight down. He was in a hurry to resist. Turning his head, he saw the flaming lizard running towards him like crazy. He couldn't help laughing. He stood up and ran 2 steps towards the flaming lizard, getting under the flaming lizard. The sky thunder split in an instant makes Meng Bai feel a pain before he has time to take his feet in. When he turns his head and looks at it, there is blood on his feet. I couldn't help taking a breath, but I felt a dark shadow suddenly hit on my head. I was in a panic and quickly dodged. The flaming lizard had lost its breath and fell to the side. Meng Bai sits under the flaming lizard and quietly watches the thunder fall on the flaming lizard. Bursts of smoke rise from the flaming lizard. After a while, the flaming lizard's last breath is also broken. Finally relieved, looking at the gradually clear sky, Meng Bai lay down and closed his eyes. I don't know how long I slept until the hot heat made him feel like he was on fire. Looking ahead, I didn't know how far to go, so I sighed, took out the roasted meat from the flaming lizard, ate it, and walked towards the endless desert ahead. It's been another 3 days and 2 nights. Finally, at the end of the desert, Meng Bai saw an inn. There is a flag standing at the door of the inn, which makes Meng Bai come down and speed up his steps towards the inn. It was not until I approached the inn that I found that behind the inn in front of me, there was a small village. All the people who came and went stopped in the inn, drank some tea, and asked the people around me about the situation. Meng Bai was extremely tired. He went into the shop and asked for a pot of tea. He sat down and asked for 2 dishes. While eating, he listened to the people around him talking about the residents nearby. Well, have you heard that mysterious cannibal tribe has appeared again recently? Suddenly, a young man stood up and said aloud. For a moment, the hotness of the inn turned around and focused on the young people. Even Meng Bai couldn't help looking at the young people. Thought, cannibalism? How to eat it? When the young man saw that everyone's eyes were on him, he suddenly got excited, coughed, and said, "It is said that many passers-by have been eaten by them recently. Among the tombs, there are large and small ear chambers one after another. The door of each ear room is tightly closed. The door is covered by a strange energy. If you want to open it, you need different experience and attack. The ear room is big and small. Everything in it is a treasure that can make the whole Wulin crazy. But if you want to get him, you have to have enough ability. The forces on these ear room doors are strange." Hulinger walks beside Yinwu and looks at the big and small doors curiously and says, "Little girl, you don't know. These are the seals that have been set up specially. They are not forces." Small 9 teases to say. There was a flash of pride in his eyes, and then he inadvertently looked at Yunwu, but he did not blurt out the word master. The seal? Hulinger was more curious. He went directly to the front of an open door and explored the energy curiously. "Yes." Xiao Ju leaned on a wall and said lazily. Every ear room here will set a seal according to the things placed inside. These seals can only be opened when there is a new heir to the whole tomb, and only for the heir. Like today, they are invaded by a group of intruders. If they want to get things in the ear room, they have to rely on brute force to break these seals. The power of the seal is big and small. The more precious the things inside, the greater the power of the seal. Some can break it by force depending on the strength of the team, and some 2 or 3 worthless martial saints can break it. But those that are really difficult to open may not be able to open even if they are more than a dozen martial sections. That you're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.